And welcome to Benchmonster TV.
I'm Ashley Lynn Condre.
And I am Ryan Benchmonster Kennelly. We have a special guest this evening.
Sure
Let's
do.
cut
We're
right to the
super
chase.
Excited about it. Yep,
Let's
not
not
gonna waste
pussyfoot
any
around.
time. Nope,
Nope.
getting on it.
Big Mike Wolfe will be with us. I got a little intro video here we're going to play, and then we're going to bring Mike on. We got a lot of questions to ask, and we don't have any time to kill. We got to roll.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to play a little, let's see, with the Arnold Classic 860 bench, 2007. We'll play that. Mike, Big Bad Wolfe. He's a Westside Barbell member. Westside Barbell's first 800-pound bench presser. Best contest lifts are 860-pound shirted bench at the 2007 Arnold Classic and a 650 raw bench at the APF Nationals in 2015. WPC World Champion in the Super Heavyweight Men's Open 2012. WPC World Super Heavyweight Record Holder Men's Open 2015 through through 2020. And multiple food eating challenge champion. We'll have to break it down with that. As you see here, nice 860 bench. I was there that day. Hopefully we got some stories to tell about the Arnold.
Nice.
That was a great day. Mike was giving me a run for my money that day. So, without further ado, let's bring on Mike, the Big Bad Wolfe. Mike, how you doing?
Hey.
I'm good. What's going on, folks?
Yeah, good to have you, Mike.
Good to have you. Yes. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for joining us.
Yep, not a problem. My pleasure.
Well, Mike, we got a lot of questions, and I'm sure the chat box will fill up with questions. So Ashley's going to start.
We won't waste any time.
We're not going to waste any time.
Just get right on it if that's cool.
Yeah, jump in.
Yep.
All right. When and how did you get into weightlifting in general, and how did you get introduced into powerlifting?
Obviously, I mean, high school football, that was kind of my first introduction. I was the worst football player to come out of our high school ever. I swear to God, I was. I come out of a high school that is multiple-time state champions, multiple-time league champions. They are a football powerhouse in this area. Still to this day are. Up until last year, I was actually helping them with their powerlifting program when Coach come back. He had left to go watch his kids play college ball, and then he come back and he approached me about, hey, you know what? I want to start an off-season powerlifting team. Are you interested? Obviously, of course, I jumped on that. Did that for about 3 years with those guys, and then there were some changes in the time frame to where it didn't work with my stuff at work where I work at, and so I would still go to the contest with them and assist and help and coach and all of that stuff at the contest, but didn't have the hands-on. And then, like I said, the last couple of years, it's just kind of fallen off with this year, definitely with the COVID.
Yeah.
And then last year we had some snow days that we missed, and we only got to compete like 3 times. But I got, like I said, started through high school football. Really loved the weight room. I was not a natural by any means. My dad, he had bought me a little weight set that we had in the garage. Me and my brother kind of played around on for a little bit, and then got the access through football to the weight room, started doing stuff in there. Really enjoyed the bench press, but I was really not good at it. We actually had this thing in our high school called the block, and if you could bench the block, you were a stud. It was a 185-pound chunk of steel that had some bicycle handlebars welded to the side of it. It was basically like a leverage action type machine. And if you could bench it, you were a stud. And if you could put weight on it, it had basically a plate holder on the top of it. And I could never do it. I always joke around about wanting to replicate that and put it in the gym and just to lay down and crank it out for 100 reps or something now, just for shits and giggles.
Right, that's cool.
But anyways, got involved through that. Graduated high school. Started working in the city that I moved to, which was south of here. This was back in '94. They had actually opened up a YMCA there. And I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to go check out this Y. Went in there, signed up, got a membership. Trained there on and off for a few months. And one day I come in, and there was this huge man in there, probably late 30s-ish, somewhere in that time, in that age range. And he was on the bench and had 405 on the bar, and he unracked it, did it for 6 like it was an empty bar, and put it back in the rack. And here I am. I mean, I'm struggling to bench 185 pounds. And I'm looking at this guy like, who the hell is this dude? And he hates it. And I even told him I was telling this story because he even told me the other day to tell him this story. But anyways, I kind of eyed him the rest of the time he was in there, and then I took off, went to the locker room, changed into some swimming trunks, jumped in the hot tub. A couple minutes later, here he comes in. He jumps in the hot tub, and he's like, hey, he's like, you new here? And we just started chit chatting, and that guy told me his name's Randy Houseworth. We call him Chief. He's a former police chief. He's since retired now. But at the time, he was a police sergeant in the New Bremen Police Department where I was living at. And he's the one that actually introduced me to powerlifting. He told me I was built to bench press, and he was a multiple-time Police Olympics bench press champion, actually World Police Order bench press champion. Wow. He had competed in the World Order of Police and had won their gold medal there. And this guy took me under his wing, and within a year and a half, he took me from benching 185 pounds to benching mid-fives in a shirt. And that was kind of my first dose of westside barbell, I guess. That's when I started buying Powerlifting USA magazines and stuff like that. And Randy really took me a long way over the course of a couple years. And ultimately, it's training through him. I learned a ton. And then ultimately, it just kind of took me into the westside aspect, which, I mean, I could share more of the stories with that as well. And but that's pretty much, so my start was through Randy. Up until about 2 years ago, he was my training partner. We've literally traveled from the east side of this country to the west side of this country together competing. And either he was competing or I was competing. And I did all his handouts. He did all my handouts. My world records, he's handed all of my world records out to me. And he didn't hand out to me at the Arnold. He did hand out to me the last time, 2016 in the animal cage. He came in, did all my handouts in the animal cage. But yeah, he's a big brother to me. I mean, one of my best friends. So, cool. But yeah, we met in a hot tub, and that's where my powerlifting career started.
Awesome. That's really cool. Cool story. All right. Did you play any sport? Which you already, I know, played football, but you can elaborate if you want. Did you play any sports in high school? If so, which ones?
I actually started wrestling back when I was younger, like 4th, 5th grade. The church that I attended, the youth pastor there was a wrestler, like Greco-Roman wrestling, and we would wrestle around a little bit there at the church. Had some open mat times and stuff like that after service and stuff. So I actually got involved in wrestling at a very young age, and did some wrestling there. Then when I got into junior high, I wrestled 7th and 8th grade in junior high. Went into high school. I wrestled 9th grade in high school, and our JV coach was kind of a douchebag. So I decided after my junior year that I didn't want to wrestle anymore. So I actually walked away from it, which I still to this day regret it, because I mean that was something that I really did enjoy doing. Wrestling was really fun. I was actually halfway decent at that as opposed to football. I did play football, and I was too big when I was a kid to play midget. It was like a 150-pound limit or something like that, and I've always been a big guy, bigger kid, so I could never play midget. I did play in junior high. I skipped my freshman and my sophomore year, and then I went back on my junior year, and I played my junior and my senior year. And like I said, I mean, the kids in the town that I grew up in, football is programmed into them at such a young age. I mean, from elementary school all the way up, these kids are programmed to play football, and they are studs. I mean, they're studs this year again. So I mean, they're a great team, and absolutely loved it. But it wasn't a sport that I was good at, and so I never really excelled. But that's the sport that opened me into lifting weights.
Right up.
Very cool.
Yep.
How much did you squat, bench, and deadlift in high school as a freshman and as a senior, if you remember both?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you what I squatted in deadlift, but I was a 185-ish, 200-pound, somewhere in that vicinity. I do recall one time putting 2 plates on and everybody making the comments like, oh, Wolf's going big, and it was like a big old Black & Decker stapler come out of the ceiling, and it just sat on me until somebody was cool enough to pull it off of me. Oh, so, but never did 2 plates in high school, but about 185 to 200. I mean, that's been 27 years ago,
right,
so kind of hard to remember how long ago that's been. But yeah, I mean, somewhere in that area. I don't know if I ever had a squat bar on my back, so I mean, I never really cared for squats. I did. I mean, once I got out of high school, I started squatting. I actually have a 600-pound squat in contest and a 585-pound deadlift in contest. My first 2 contests that I did back in '94 were actually full meets. and realized at that point in time that one, full meets take forever, and two, squatting and deadlift sucks. I didn't care for them, so it wasn't a feeling that I enjoyed doing. So just took the bench route, and that's where I excelled.
Same here. Oh. Next question, please.
How much did you weigh in high school?
I was about 270, 270,
Wow.
275.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yep.
Yeah, that is very cool.
Yeah, I was a stout feller. I like to eat thin too.
I'm working on it. When was your first meet? How much did you squat, bench, and deadlift,
Or just bench.
or just bench?
Yeah, well, I did my full
Did
meet.
you do a full meet? I went.
My first full meet was it would have been summer of 1994. Maybe it was fall. It was somewhere in that vicinity. It was Big Iron on the River. It was down in Ironton, Ohio, and I think that I squatted like 555 at that meet.
Wow.
I pulled like a 505,
Nice.
and I think I benched like 320, and that was all raw. That was my first time I ever attempted anything in a monolift. I always walked all my stuff out. So that was my first meet, and 25 years ago,
Wow.
26 years ago now.
Wow.
Crazy. So
Time flies. Very cool. Okay. What is your training split look like?
right now, I'm kind of on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and occasionally Tuesday split.
Okay.
Sundays are always bench days. And then, so so I got my full crew. We bench every Sunday morning at 9 here at where we got our gym set up at here in Salina. And then, usually, so when I hit the gym Friday, I usually hit a back and rear delt type workout. And then I'll go in on Saturday and I'll probably hit more like the side laterals, the front laterals, stuff like that. And then, like I said, Sunday is going to be the bench day. And then Monday and Tuesday are just kind of filler days. Sometimes I go in, I do some biceps and some back, or occasionally I'll throw a leg day in there. Very, very few and far between because of the bum knees. I do have a fake knee and I need another fake knee. So it's don't hit the legs too hard anymore. So I haven't done that for quite a while anyways. But occasionally I'll throw that in on through the week. But yeah, right now, like I said, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, and then occasionally throw a Tuesday in there. Wednesdays I coach, Thursdays I coach. So those are kind of my days off.
Okay.
Don't really have anything set in stone at this point in time. I mean, we can get into when I trained and competing. I mean, I could talk about that split.
And that'll be my question over here.
Do you have that?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So we will have you talk about that. Let's see. When you're prepping for your competitions, what does your diet look like? Or what does it look like?
Eat.
Anything and everything?
I don't have a set plan. I'm a breakfast person. I eat a big breakfast every day. I roll into work and I usually have my breakfast pulled out when I get to my desk. Start going through emails and chowing on breakfast. And I mean, that could be anything from a couple egg sandwiches here at the house. Could be run through McDonald's, get a couple breakfast burritos, get a big iced coffee. I don't know what it is. My wife has got me addicted on iced coffee here lately.
I love iced coffee.
So run through there, get an iced coffee with some sugar-free French vanilla in it. Then I usually eat again about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I mean, that's usually leftovers from dinner the night before. Or I'll just have like a ham sandwich or something like that with some crackers or Triscuits or something along that line. And this is now.
Right.
Again, we can get into the powerlifting diet. Lunch usually about the same as what I would have at break time, and then I usually get home about between 3:30 and 4 when I get home. I'll usually grab something, a banana or something like that, kind of hold me over till it's time to get to the gym. Get to the gym, I usually have a shake or something before I train, and then get the training in, and then usually back here at the house about 7:30 we have supper. Tonight we just ran through Subway, so I had a foot-long pizza sub tonight.
Ooh, that
Nice.
sounds good.
My wife is not coming. She just bailed on me.
Oh.
You can stop in and say, hey, babe.
Yeah.
Oh. She just texted me, love you, so I don't know if she's stopping in here or not.
Oh.
But so yeah, it's that's typical right there. Usually about 5 meals a day at this point in time. I do need to reel that back in. It's if you add it all up, it's right around 3,500 to 4,000 calories, which obviously is considerably less than what I was eating. But I'm not doing any really hard active cardio or anything to that extent. So I mean, I'm just maintaining at that.
Okay. What kind of music do you like to listen to when you train?
I believe it or not, I'm actually an old school punk rock guy.
Nice.
I am a huge Rancid fan.
Nice.
Love Rancid. So they just last week 25 years for Out Come the Wolves. So that's pretty crazy to think that that's been out for 25 years already.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm an old school punk rock guy. Love that stuff. I'm also old school 90s, late 80s, early 90s hip hop guy.
Yep.
And so those are pretty much some of my go-tos.
Nice.
My pump up musics, obviously, I mean, you heard Bodies Hit the Floor from the 2007 Arnold. That's always, anytime I watch that video, I still get that giddy feeling in the gut. And, let's go kill somebody, rip some heads off. So Du Hast, if you listen to that. So that's if you listen to any of my training videos, you'll hear those two quite a bit in there. But then on the other hand, some of the training videos you may hear Miley Cyrus's Party in the USA. I think I benched 315 for like 50 some reps to Miley Cyrus's Party in the USA because I told them, I said, just pick a music, and they decided that's the one we was rolling with.
Wow.
Pretty good stuff.
That's funny.
Yeah, old school punk rock. That's where we're at.
Nice. Do you use pre-workout at all? If so, which ones?
I'm a coffee and Diet Mountain Dew guy. I honest to God, I probably got 3 pre-workouts sitting in there on my shelf right now that I really haven't touched them. I've used some of the G Code products. Love Greg and those guys. I mean, they treat me well. They hook me up with stuff. G Code's really good stuff. Corey G's got some good stuff in the Max Effort Muscle guys. I mean, they got some really good stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that I did supplements for so long that it burnt me out on them. I mean, I don't very rarely, much more than a protein shake here and there. I mean, I don't do a whole lot of supplements. And just because I did them for so long with the heavy training and the competing and everything, it was something that was just regimented into me every single day that it just kind of burnt me out on it. But yeah, like I said, I mean, there's a few of them in there. Occasionally I'll hit my BCAAs and make sure I got some BCAAs in me. So, but much more than that, I don't hit a whole lot of supplements.
Okay.
Back to that iced coffee.
I love iced coffee. It's delicious. Have you suffered from any injuries in your powerlifting career, and how did you recover from them, if you did? Which I'm assuming you probably did.
I can say this. I did my first powerlifting meet in 1994, and all the way from 1994 to 2015, I did not suffer any major injuries. None, not a zip of zilch.
Wow.
I had some strains and sprains and some aches and pains, but I did not have anything. And then 2015 was that was my big year for Raw, and I was actually chasing 700. And there's actually some videos of me doubling 705 touch and go. And if you look at the board, there's a big old sign that we had our board for like the westside board for my gym, and across it says 700 fucking pounds. And I mean, every time I get ready to go do a set, I'd look at that and I'd smack it and then get fired up and go do my thing. But I went 2015. I broke the WPC world record, and it would have been in April. And then I came back again, and I do believe it was June. And my attempt was to go 650, 680, 700 was my goal. So the 650 that I hit, that was actually my opening attempt, and opened at 650. But a couple weeks prior to that, I had strained the left quad muscle, and it was bad. And I mean, I was hobbling into that meet, and that 650 was literally all upper body. I had no leg drive whatsoever off my left side. And so I jumped to 683, something like that, whatever it is. It's kilos, so it's kind of odd numbers. But I had jumped to the 683 and went to push it up. Didn't quite lock it out, just missed it right at the top. And I just sat up and I called my last lift, said I was done. Wasn't going to push anything. So went back to the drawing board, decided, hey, you know what? I got the record. Let's train for 7. Started busting my ass. Went to a meet in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And the Thursday before the meet, I got up to go leave for work. And I was at work. Got ready to leave work, and when I did, I just kind of felt like this achiness across the front of my quads, like I'd done a really heavy leg workout. And I was like, what the hell is this? And so I went home, and I just kind of rested and everything, and got up the next morning, and I could feel it. I could feel a flu bug coming on the day before the meet. And I made it through work. I was hammering vitamin C and everything. I actually made my wife drive to Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is about 3 hours from where we're at. And she made the drive up. I slept most of the way. Got up there, met my crew. We all went out to supper, and I literally just pushed my food around all night. So just couldn't, when we were sitting there eating dinner, didn't have any drinks. I mean, didn't do nothing. All I would do was go back to the hotel, try and sweat it out in the hot tub. We had a hot tub right there in our room. Nicest room we'd ever stayed in. And the room that we had booked, it didn't have a hot tub in the room, and it was supposed to. So they ended up giving us the presidential suite, which only one other person had ever stayed in it. Wow. This was like a 2-story room, had a balcony that outlooked over the lower level. And I mean, one of the nicest hotel rooms. I mean, it was nicer than the one I stayed at for the Arnold. And I'm just like, holy shit. Wow. And but about 10 o'clock that night, it hit me. And I spent the whole night in the bathroom. So it was not a glorious sight, and I'll just leave it at that. But got to the meet the next day, and I ended up having to withdraw out of the meet. And that would have been my 700-pound meet easily. I mean, I know it would have been. And so I left that meet and decided to go back to the drawing board. And we took off we went to, basically it was Nashville, Lebanon, Tennessee, down by Nashville. It was Harley Tim's meet. And so my goal was to try and hit the 700 there. Going into the meet, I had a small pec tear on my right pec, and very mild, about the size of a dime. It kind of bled up a little bit. And it's funny because I was talking with Chris Mason. He was helping me out with some supplements and stuff going in. And I still have the message on my phone from it. And I told him, I says, hey, look, I says, going into this meet, I got a small pec tear. I said, one of two things is going to happen. I says, either I'm going to hit something big or I'm going to blow something big. Well, unfortunately, I went in, I took my opener at 635, smoked it, went to 655, went to push that up. I kind of double pumped it and didn't get it. And so they red lighted me on the double pump. And so I motioned to take it again and didn't take it again, decided not to take it again to go up. And I do believe I went up, it was either 675 or 680. I don't remember which one I went to. And brought it down. Everything was good. Went to push it up. And about a quarter of the way up, I blew my right pec.
Ooh.
And that was the beginning of a slew of injuries that just, I mean, over the last few years have just gotten worse and worse. Got that healed up. Went and I talked to Lou, called Lou right away on the way home. And Lou wanted me to do prolotherapy. And he wanted me to... basically, it was like a saline solution injection right into the pec, and just something about shoving a syringe into my pec. Just kind of, I don't like needles anyways, so kind of freaked me out a little bit. And so I got back to Westside the next weekend, and Lou asked me. He goes, you do that? And I says, no. He's like, damn it. He goes, I knew you didn't. He goes, come here. So we walked around into the back room, and he already had three cc needles already loaded with ready to go. And he's like, get your shirt off. So I popped my shirt off and Lou hit me right across the pec with that. And I'm going to tell you what, I mean, I did it every weekend for 6 weeks afterwards, and my pec felt great. It was a belly tear, so I mean, I didn't have to go in and have anything repaired. And but I'm telling you, that was a saver doing that. So I started training again to compete, and I ended up tearing the bicep. Again, it was a belly tear. It wasn't a full rupture of anything, so had to clean that up a little bit, get that taken care of, and decided then I was like, well, you know, I got invited to go to the animal cage in 2016. So I went to the animal cage, and me and Jeremy Hornster, we kind of did a little bench off between the two of us. And Hornster, he's amazing. I can't say enough good stuff about that guy. He is such a beast. And me and him, I mean, we was going pound for pound on the bar, and I went up to 655, and brought 655 out, brought it down, pushed it about 3/4 of the way up, and I felt a pop in my left knee, and so it kind of Chief actually handed it out to me, and Chief grabbed it and he put it back in the rack, and it didn't feel bad, and so I walked around on it for the rest of the day, and then got up Sunday morning, it was a little stiff, got it stretched out a little bit, and made our way back home. And then Monday morning, got up, went to work, did my normal duties at work, went to the gym, and I actually jumped on the elliptical for about a half hour. And when I got off that thing, it hurt so bad. And Tuesday morning, I couldn't put any weight on it, went and got an MRI on it, and ended up tearing my meniscus in 2 spots. And so they ended up having to go in, snip the meniscus, clean the knee out. Doctor told me that with the knee, he's like, you know, he goes, I might have bought you 6 months. I might have bought you 6 years. I got about a year out of it, and ended up in 2017. I ended up going in and having a full knee replacement of my left knee, which that then, like I said, I mean, wasn't doing anything that time, and was just rehabbing the knee, trying to get that taken care of. Finally got the green light in February of 2018 to start training again. And took off, tried to make another run at it, and it's just been crappy training. Couldn't get anything recreated. Ended up about a little over a year ago, I ended up tearing the left pec. Was down at westside, and I mean, I'd love to say I was doing something heavy, but I mean, I think we had like 405 on the bar, and brought it down. It was like the 3rd or 4th rep warming up, and pushed it up, and I felt a pop, and George is like, what? I sat up and just kind of rubbed it, and George is like, what? And I told him, I don't know. I said, something just feels odd. And he made me stop, which I'm glad that he did, because I was going to go back and take another rep set. And the next day, my whole pec was all black and blue all the way down into the arm. So I got matching torn pecs now. Oh, and now I just went through, the shoulder was bothering me real bad. I started going through for that, and they just diagnosed me with needing to have a complete shoulder replacement of my left shoulder. And so that's an injury that I'm dealing with now, and I have to have my right knee replaced. So I got to get my body weight down into 350 to get that. So those are the injuries that I'm dealing with now.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so I've had my slew in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of been a crappy 5 years for injuries.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like you had a really good run there for a while, and then just boom.
Yeah, had a great.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It was like I hit 40 and it all went to shit.
Oh.
I can't complain though. 25 years in the sport with no injuries.
Yeah. No, that's really good.
So can't complain.
No, that seems like really good streak. Let's see. Outside of the gym, what do you like to do? What are some of your hobbies?
Well, if you follow my Facebook page, you know that I like to sit in the parking lot of Hobby Lobby where my wife shops. So I am part of the Hobby Lobby Mafia, as Dr. Scott Albano says. So me and him both get stuck in the parking lot of Hobby Lobby quite a bit. So, you know, my wife is my best friend. I mean, she has been since we started dating. Me and her spend a lot of time together. Friday night tomorrow, we're going to get her nails done and we're going shopping. So all I ask out of it is that I get dinner. So,
nice.
And so, yeah, I mean, we travel a lot. We like to get together. We love going down to Gatlinburg, and which it's about Gatlinburg's the Smoky Mountains there in eastern Tennessee. And we love to spend time down there. This is actually our our anniversary is coming up here in a couple weeks, and it'll be the first time in a few years that we haven't gone to Gatlinburg for our anniversary. And so yeah, we like to travel, do stuff. We like to do like weekend vacations, like just little weekend getaways, and get a hotel room for the night and just kind of go hang out, chill. Love to hit restaurants, different restaurants. Try to stay away from the mainstream restaurants. Find the mom and pop stuff.
Yeah.
So where the locals eat at, I guess, is what we like to do. Research it a little bit. But yeah, spend time with the wife.
Nice.
That's beautiful.
That's my second pastime.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, you're going to be celebrating 26 years. Is that what you?
26 years. So we've been together since the summer of '92.
Wow.
So
that's wild.
Technically, it should be the summer of '91, but we kind of flirted back and forth. I was kind of dating another girl, and she threw rocks at my head because I was dating another girl. So I'd say, yeah. So she didn't like the fact that I was talking to her, and her sister started throwing rocks at us for some reason. So got drilled in the back of the head with a rock from my wife.
Nice.
So, claiming her territory, I guess.
There you go. I like it. What is your favorite moment in your powerlifting career?
My favorite moment, setting the WPC world record was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the WPC is a very large federation, recognized around the world. It's not one of these backyard federations that claim to have worlds and you go to their world meet and it's more of a county meet than it is a world meet. So traveling out to Las Vegas and winning worlds was pretty cool. And then also setting the world record when I did that up in Grand Rapids. So I'm going to say those two.
Okay.
Competing against Russia and taking first place over Russia. They took second and third.
Nice.
That would have been 2012 out in Vegas. That was a good time. Me and Chief were out there. He lifted, I lifted. He won gold, I won gold. So it was only the second meet that me and him had ever done together at the same time. And the first one we had done was the Can-Am Border Wars up in Detroit. And that was the first time we'd ever competed together after 15 years, 20 years of training together. We decided to do a meet together. Nice. And we both qualified for the WPC World Team and went out to Vegas. And we both ended up winning the gold. I won the golds in the men's open, and he won the golds in the, I do believe it was the 50 to 59-year-old class. He took the gold in his weight class. So it was kind of cool to be out there. So that was a big one. Like I said, setting the world record was a good one, and being on the stage at the Arnold. Those are my top three right there.
Nice.
I can remember, you go back to, it would have been 1997. Ryan, I'm sure you remember Anthony Clark. And Anthony was chasing 800 pounds. And this is when I was, like I said, first getting into powerlifting and really absolutely falling in love with it. And Anthony was my idol. I mean, he was my idol. And I wanted to do everything that he did. And I remember going to we went to the 96 Mr. Olympia. And the 96 Mr. Olympia, we watched him up there attempt it during the bodybuilding show, and he didn't get it. And then he come back at the 97 Arnold, and that's when he got the 800 at the 97 Arnold. And it was funny because my dad was there with me, and I looked at my dad, and I told him, I says, you give me 10 years. I says, I'm going to be on that stage. And my dad looked at me, and he's like, that's 800 freaking pounds. And I told my dad, I said, it's only 250 pounds more than what I'm doing. I was like, you give me 10 years, I'll be on that stage. 10 years, 2007, I made it on that stage. And I looked at my dad when I come off, and I said, what'd I tell you 10 years ago? Because you told me you'd be on that stage. And but I'll tell you what, I mean, when you walk out onto that stage, I mean, that's a presence. I mean, you have all them people standing there looking at you. I mean, that's a presence of people. And I remember I looked at George, and I said, God damn, George. I said, that's a lot of people. And George kind of grabbed me by my arm, and he looked at me, and he goes, Mike, he goes, when you came to Westside, he goes, where did you tell me you wanted to be? And I said, I wanted to be on the stage at the Arnold. He goes, well, where the hell are you? And I said, I'm on the stage at the Arnold. He goes, well, go show these people who the hell you are.
Oh,
so,
nice.
I mean, and I had a great day. I mean, everything came together on that last lift, and it was a good day. So, had a blast. So,
nice.
It was my house that day, Ryan. I don't care if you want.
I know.
That's very cool. Very cool moment.
That was a good day. That was a damn good day.
Sounds
Loved it.
like it. Sounds wonderful. All right, now I got to ask what your least favorite or worst moment in powerlifting is.
The one that really hits home for me, and it's not even me. There's a guy, his name's Steve Green. He's out of Greenville, Ohio, which is about 35 miles south of here. I had helped Steve on and off at a couple different meets, and he was actually at a Lexian meet in Columbus, and I was helping spot and load and was there. And Steve had just hit his first 700-pound bench press. He was ecstatic. The best day of this guy's career. And he had been complaining about some forearm pain. And his next attempt was 740. And he had been hitting 740 to a one board pretty easily. And so he jumped to 740. And I was spotting his left arm, and he brings it out, and he's coming down, and he started to flare out. And I hollered at him to get back under it. And when he went to kind of tuck back underneath it, his left arm snapped.
Oh.
And it was excruciating seeing it, hearing it. I mean, sitting here now, I can still remember that snap at the bones. We grabbed it and got the bar off of him, obviously. And when he let go of the bar, his left hand kind of folded back to a 90 degree. And I'm sitting there holding his arm, and he looks me dead in the eye. And he says, Mike, he goes, how bad is it?
Oh.
And I'm like, don't look at it. I was like, don't look at it. That's probably registers with me. I literally, after we got him loaded up in the ambulance, I called my wife because 2 weeks prior to that, I had actually blacked out and dropped 903 on me. And from not quite arm's length, I had just broke the elbows and was starting to tuck to bring it down. And the shirt that I had on was super tight. And for some godforsaken reason, I actually lifted my head, which I never do, and to look and see where I was at. And I just dropped it. I mean, luckily enough, it went to my belly, not my face. There's actually a picture of it on my Facebook. They snapped the picture right when it hit me. And my lower abdomen is still inflated with all the air and pushed up, and my whole chest and basically from my ribs down is about half the distance of what it normally is. And from having 903 pounds sitting on me, I come to, I sat up, and I don't know if you know Drex Welch or not, but Drex was kind of smacking me in the face. He does a lot of Hoff's handoffs and stuff. And he was kind of smacking me in the face. And I opened up my eyes and I looked at him and I says, did I get it? His exact words, he goes, hell no, you didn't get it. You passed out. And so I sat up, and literally in the front row sat my wife, my mom, my dad, and my two kids. I mean, they just watched me almost die. And the look on my wife and my mom's face was, I mean, it was just like, holy shit, I just scared the hell out of them. And I walked over to my dad, and my dad's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. And he just kind of shook his head and told me I was borderline insane. So if you actually look at my Facebook, it says borderline insane on my Facebook. And so that, I mean, that kind of scared me a little bit when I seen the picture when it come out. And then, like I said, then Steve Green 2 weeks later snapping his arm. I actually walked away from the sport for 2 years. Lou has always said that if you get scared, you'll quit. And I got scared. I'm not afraid to admit it. I got scared. I walked away from the sport for 2 years because of it. Kind of went and just I dieted way down. I mean, I almost looked anorexic skinny. I was too skinny for what I did. I was down to 235 and lost a shit ton of muscle. I become a cardio guy. I mean, it was just, I was doing an hour of cardio every day, 7 days a week, and hardly lifting any weights. But I mean, I looked good. I mean, I was skinny and lean, but I like that look when you walk in the room and everybody goes, damn, that's a big dude. So, I mean, Ryan, you get it.
Oh, yeah,
I do. So
it's like walking into Walmart and the record player screeches and everybody looks.
Exactly. So, but yeah, those two right there were probably my lows. Like I said, seeing the look on my mom and dad's face, and the only other time I've ever seen that look on my mom's face, I did an MMA fight back in 2004, and I come out of the cage, and me and this guy, I was 353, he was 347, and we went three 3-minute rounds. It was exactly 700 pounds in that cage. And we beat the living shit out of each other for 9 minutes. And he ended up he got split decision over me. And I walked out of the ring, and first words my wife says to me that I fought like a pussy and I should have whooped his ass. And Then I look over at my mom, and my mom's over there bawling. And I'm like,
Aw.
Mom, why are you crying? And I mean, just the look on my mom's face. You got to understand. I mean, my mom is the quintessential Midwest America mom, and she's bawling her eyes out. And I look at her, so what are you crying for? And she's like, he's beating up my baby.
Aw.
And so that's the only 2 times I've ever seen that look on my mom's face where she wasn't impressed with what I was doing at that time. So, yeah, but yeah, that's where we're at right there, them two.
Okay.
And like I said, walked away. It scared me. But I come back.
It's good. Glad
Come
you
back as a raw guy at that point in
Yeah.
time.
Okay. When you first started out, what lifters did you look up to?
What was that?
When you first started out in powerlifting, what lifters were you looking up to?
I had the big 3. Anthony Clark. I mean, he was the big dog. And then you had Willie Williams was in there because, I mean, Willie Williams, the wild, crazy guy from West Virginia. Absolutely loved him. And then Jamie Harris. I mean, those were the big 3. Anthony being out of Texas, and Jamie and Willie being, I mean, they weren't local. Willie's West Virginia, and Jamie's Pennsylvania. But when we held meets, I mean, a lot of our meets were kind of down southeast Ohio that we went to, and so those guys were always there. I looked up to J.M. Blakely when I first started off, J.M., he actually come up and did a seminar at our gym up here. Completely lost me in all his scientific approach to everything. I mean, that guy is very scientific about everything that he does. But yeah, those guys, I mean, they were the big 3 at the time. So those were the guys that I enjoyed looking up to them. And so yeah, right there.
Okay, perfect. What are your favorite accessory exercises for the bench?
I am a push down junkie.
Really?
Heavy push downs. So I'm big on them. Back in the day, I mean, I would use those. I would also use like the basically a rollback skull crusher. Lou had me up to 110-pound dumbbells on those, so I mean, cranking those out. So, but yeah, the 2 accessories that I went to the most, especially in the glory days, was the rollback extensions and then the heavy push downs, real heavy push downs.
When you did those heavy push downs, Mike, did you go till failure at some points, or did you have a certain rep range, a set range on the push?
It would usually be around the 8 rep range, but we had our cable crossover over here. I had a 200-pound stack on it, and then we had the extra long pin where we could hang a plate or 2 off of it. And so I mean, we would take it from a 200-pound stack to a 290-pound stack pretty easily. And so I mean, it was easy to stay in that 8 to 10 rep range and just get the blood pumped in there real good. 4 to 5 sets. Okay. I mean, that's kind of, I mean, like I said, I mean, that was usually after some heavy benching and then some heavy extensions. Westside also has when I would train there, one of the accessories that I really liked, they had a machine there that was a chest press, but almost like a close grip, but it was a vertical. You actually stood upright.
Yeah, I saw it there.
And just, the one in the corner?
The one in the corner by the bathroom.
Yeah, the one in the corner by the bathroom. That one there. I do believe it came, not that one, but the old one. The old one actually came from, I do believe it was Pittsburgh Steelers or Cleveland Browns locker room or their weight room. And it was something that their linemen used to build strength for here. And it was basically like an F and a backwards F for your 2 handles. But it was real small tubing, real kind of janky. And same concept. But I actually had that thing, I had it loaded up. I think I had 6 plates aside. And Lou was on me about, getting some heavy rep work in with it. And I had been doing quite a bit of weight on there the weeks prior to it. And something about this one, I went up 6 plates, and Lou wanted me to get 6 reps. And I pushed it up, kicked the little kickstand on it to let you get full range. I come down for the first one, come down for the second one. The third one, as I pushed off, this handle on my left hand snapped off. And that whole thing flung back through me and it against the wall. There's actually if you look, there's actually a power, like a utility box right behind it. Slammed into the utility box. And Lou's standing there, his eyes are about this big, and I come out of it and I'm holding that in my hand, and I just go off on him. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? And I mean, I'm a welder by trade. I mean, welder fabricator by trade. I do safety now, but coming up through the time, and I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this. Well, Lou had sent it off to have it rebuilt and brought it back, and nobody really wanted to use it. And because of what had happened, and it was reinforced, but still wasn't right. So then Lou got with, I do believe it's Legend, and they built the one that's in there now. Same concept as what it was. Everything's identical, but it's like super extra duty, extra. You can load that thing up with 1,000 pounds, and it ain't going anywhere. So that's a great accessory workout too, if you have access to one of those machines.
Not yet.
And a lot of people don't. No. So a lot of people don't. I've only seen one other one out there. So, and but the guys that do have them, I tell them to thank me because I'm the one that broke the old one to get the new design built.
What is your favorite, most fun meet you've done? Which, I mean, you kind of answered that, but you can elaborate a little more.
Yeah, it's Vegas. Vegas was a good time. Obviously, I mean, anytime you're in Vegas, it's fun. And going out there and, because if you do nationals, I mean, it's your buddies. I mean, it's the guys that you usually see at the meets, and a lot of those guys will show up at the national meets and stuff. So, but going into Vegas, it was my first world meet. I mean, you're exposed. This is 2012. And you get to see all of the other countries. And so that was kind of neat. And there's about a 4-hour block in Las Vegas I don't remember much of because we was having celebratory drinks at Sammy Hagar's Cabo Wabo afterwards. And I know that at one point I had kind of stripped my clothes off and was going to jump into the Bellagio fountain. So, but yeah, so drunken stupor. So
nothing wrong with that.
Fun.
No, but yeah, that was Vegas was amazing. It was a good time.
Good. Okay.
Got to eat at the Heart Attack Grill. That was, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that or not.
I've heard about it on a food show somewhere.
Yes. Heart Attack Grill. If you weigh over 350, you get to eat for free every day. So
nice.
Yeah,
what?
That's awesome.
It's amazing. But the kicker, if you don't finish your food, they spank you. And it was funny because I had finished my food, but I jokingly told my waitress I wanted spanked. And the waitress was like, seriously, you want spanked? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, all right. So they got this big contraption that you go up and you have to put your hands out on it and bend over and stick your ass out. And she took a running start. And, dude, she cracked me 3 times on my ass hard. And we were competing the next day. And I got in the warm-up room, and I sat down, and I was like, woo.
Yeah.
I mean, I could feel it sitting on that bench.
Wow.
So, but, yeah, Vegas is definitely one of my favorite. And like I said, and then the 2012 up in Detroit where we did the Border Wars or the Can-Am Wars, whatever you want to call it, that one was the first time me and Chief had ever competed together. So that's a pretty memorable one in my mind right there, too. Yeah. And like I said, we shared the platform again in Vegas, so that was kind of good stuff.
Nice.
Them two right there.
Okay, perfect. Cool. What is something about you that would surprise everybody?
Oh, something about me that would surprise everybody. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, everybody, I mean, I'm a big teddy bear. So, I mean, I'm very, I wear my heart on my sleeve, I guess you could say. I'm kind of very sappy. I'm the guy that sends my wife good morning, beautiful texts every day, and kind of try and keep it romantic that way. So, yeah. Oh. I mean, I might be a big ugly guy, but I'm not the inside. Inside, I'm just a big teddy bear.
Perfect.
Perfect answer.
That's a good answer. Yep, I like it. Okay, I like this question too. What is one of your favorite West Side stories?
One of my favorite West Side stories. God, there's so many that we could talk about.
You can say more than one if you want to. Top 3 favorite. Like top 5.
I'll tell you, my favorite is my first introduction to George Halbert. I had actually been going to West Side for probably about 3 months at that point in time. And you know what? I'm gonna take this back. I'm gonna tell you the best West Side story. And because a lot of people laugh at this.
Okay.
We're going to go all the way back to 1996. We was at a meet in Circleville, Ohio. And there was a guy, and I like to, I've shared this story on other podcasts because this is actually how I got into Westside. And we're at this meet in Circleville, Ohio, and there was a guy by the name of Scott G that was bench pressing. And Scott G had, I don't remember how much he had benched, but they ended up, it was like 700 pounds at like 198.
Wow.
And it was a perfect bench, and they red lighted him for it. And one of the Westside guys that was competing against him got the win. Well, I went in to use the restroom, and when I'm in there using the restroom, the old man walks in, Louie. Lou walks in and standing there, taking care of business. And he asked me, and then he goes, what'd you think about that lift that just happened? And I'm finishing up, going over washing my hands. And I said, well, Lou, I says, in all respect, I thought that it was a good lift. And Lou goes, well, so did I. He goes, it was a perfect lift. He goes, I don't know what they red lighted him on. And I looked at him and said, well, why would you be upset about it? I said, your guy wins. And Lou looked at me and he goes, I don't want my guys to win like that. He goes, if my guy gets beat, he goes, it's going to make him work harder. He goes, that guy legit beat my guy. He goes, he should have the win. So Lou called me out. He goes, aren't you that Mike Wolfe guy? And he called me a kid. I mean, at the time, I guess you figure I was a kid. So, I mean, it's 96. I'm only 21 years old. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he's like, he goes, you got potential in this sport. He goes, you need to come see me. And I'm like, seriously? And he goes, yeah. He goes, you need to come down and see me. He goes, we bench at 9 o'clock on Saturday. He goes, have your ass at the gym on Saturday. So, I mean, I'm a little overwhelmed by this. I mean, in that time, I mean, still now, I mean, Westside, I mean, there's a nostalgia there. I mean, in the 90s, when Westside walked into the contest, you got the fuck out of their way. I mean, it was like the parting of the seas. I mean, these were some rough-looking dudes. And so I walk over and I sat down with my wife, and I was like, you're not going to believe what just happened. And she's like, well, what happened? And I says, Louis Simmons just invited me to Westside. And my wife's like, seriously? And I was like, yeah, swear to God. I said, he just invited me. I said, I got to be down there next Saturday at 9 o'clock. And she's like, are you going to go? And I'm like, well, yeah. I was like, I'd be stupid not to. So we get home, talk about it. I call Chief, and I'm like, hey, you ain't going to believe what happened. Told him what happened and everything. So the next Saturday comes around, and my wife, we just had our son. And at the time, he was probably about 5 weeks old. My wife is a bookworm. She loves to read. So my wife had our son, had some books. She's like, I'll sit out in the parking lot and read and take care of Damon. You go in and do your thing. My grandpa at the time, before he passed away, he lived down there. So we were going to go make a day of it, go see him and all that stuff, do some shopping, go out to eat. So I get down there, and we get about halfway there, and I'm already starting to get choked up. I can feel the butterflies. I'm starting to get a little bit of dry heave going on. And so we pull out, and this is when I was on Demarest Road. It ain't where it's at now. I was on down kind of southwest of where it's at now. And so we pull into the parking lot, and Tom Waddle and trying to think of the other guy's name off the top of my head, but two very, very large men. They come walking out of the place. They got the Westside shirts on, tattoos, head shaved, goatee, the quintessential looking powerlifter guys. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them, watching them get into their trucks and take off. And I'm a nervous wreck. And it's about 10 till 9. And my wife looks at me and she goes, you going in? I was like, I don't know. And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of looking at her, and she's like, you got to go. And I'm like, I don't think I can go in there. I was like, those guys will eat me alive. And she's like, Mike, she's like, Lou invited you. You got to go. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I literally put the car in drive and I drove away. Oh. I did not go in. I didn't go back to Westside for 8 years. Whoa. I ended up going back to the house and I put a COD. This is how long ago it was. I ordered the Westside videos, cash on delivery, had the Westside Bench Press Secrets delivered to my house. And that is how I started training Westside. It was because I started watching the Bench Press Secret videos. And I got out of powerlifting for a little while, did some bodybuilding stuff, had a coming to Jesus talk with myself when I found myself in the bathtub shaving my legs and drinking a protein shake, getting ready to do a bodybuilding contest.
Oh, wow.
I realized at that point in time that this was not something that I wanted to do. and went back to powerlifting. So I actually I'd called Lou up, and I called the phone number that was always in the back of POUSA, and Doris answered, and I said, "Hey Doris," I said, "this is Mike Wolfe." I said, "I had been invited to come to the gym about 8 years ago from Lou." I was like, "Hey," I said, "I'm just wanting to get some bench press advice from him." I said, "When he gets back," I said, "could you have him give me a call?" And she's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Not a problem." She goes, "I'll have him get a hold of you." About an hour later, I get a phone call from Doris, and I answer the phone, and I'm like, "This is Mike." And she's like, "Hey, Mike, this is Doris." First thing she says to me, she goes, "Lou wants to know where the hell you were 8 years ago." So he actually remembered that he had invited me 8 years ago, which was kind of cool. And she said, "Hey," she goes, "Lou said that you need to have your butt down here Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. She said, don't skip out this time." So I decided at that point in time, that was like May of 04 at that point in time, right after I had just done that MMA contest, deciding on which direction I wanted to go. And realized after the fight that I was a lover, not a fighter, and I wanted to be a powerlifter instead, bench presser, I guess I should say. And so that's when I called Lou, and I went down there that next Saturday, and the rest is history. Trained for about 3 months. This carries us over into my second favorite story. Trained there for about 3 months, and I come in one Saturday morning a little bit early. I got there about 8:15, 8:30. And George Halbert, Tony Ramos, Paul Key, Drex Welch. There was a handful of them. I think maybe Jerry O was there. And they was in the far back left corner. And I just pulled up a chair there by the front door. And I mean, I knew who George was. And I was kind of sitting there watching those guys lift. A couple minutes later, Lou walks in. And Lou starts talking to me. And he's all like, "Hey," he's like, he goes, "You're a bench only guy." He goes, "Those are the guys you need to be lifting with." And I was like, "Well," I says, "Okay." And he's like, "Here, let me introduce you." So he walks me back there in the corner, introduces me to everybody, and tells George, he's like, "Hey," he goes, "you care if this guy works in with you?" George is like, "Yeah, hey, how about it?" So I get in there and I start lifting with those guys. Well, I ended up beating George that day. And Tony Ramos, I don't know how well you know Tony or not, but Tony is the kind of guy that if you walk into Westside and you got an ego, he's going to tear it apart and chase you back out the door and down the railroad tracks. That's just the way that he is. You don't come in there with an ego. He'll let you know if you gotta. He'll put you in check real fast. Wow. So anyways, Tony just starts ripping on George about getting his ass kicked by the new guy. The new guy kicked your ass. He's on the bus. You're standing at the bus stop in a pile of smoke. I mean, I'm sitting there. I'm like, "Dude, shut the fuck up. I want to come back and train with you guys." So anyways, G pulls me off to the side, and he says, "Hey, you know what? Awesome job today." He's like, "Would love to have you come train with us if you're interested." Well, I asked him, I said, "Well, what time do you guys train?" He tells me 6:30 on Sunday mornings. And I'm like, "Seriously?" And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, 6:30 on Sunday mornings. And at this point in time, me and my wife, we didn't have that college years where, we both graduated. We were married at 19 years old, both went into factory jobs, started working. At 21, 22, we were having kids. And so we didn't have those partying years. So as we got into our late 20s, those started becoming more of our partying years and getting a little wild, crazy, going out, hitting the bars, going to the dance clubs, that kind of stuff. And kids got to go spend the night with grandma, and we got to go out and have a good time. So I come home and I tell the wife, I'm like, "Hey," I got this great opportunity to train with some of the best bench pressers in the world. And she's like, "Great." She's like, "When are you going?" And I said, "Well," I said, "it's Sunday mornings at 6:30. And I'm 2 hours from Westside, so do the math. That means I'm up at 3:45 in the morning every Sunday, and on the road by 4:30 to be down there by 6:30. And she kind of looked at me and she goes, "Well," she goes, "is that what you want to do?" And I'm like, "Well," I says, "I want to run it by you." I said, "Because, I said, I know we enjoy having our Saturday nights." And my wife looked at me and she goes, "We'll just turn our Friday nights to our Saturday night, or our Saturday nights to our Friday nights." And from then on, for the following 7-8 years, I was either going to Columbus on Saturday night and getting a hotel, or I was getting up at 3:45 and making my way down there every Sunday. Impressive. And that's the dedication it takes to be the best. You want to be the best, you got to put yourself where the best are. Right. And you know what? I knew that if I wanted to go to the top, that's where I needed to be. And so I didn't have a Saturday night for years. I mean, I was in bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock, get enough sleep to be able to get up and head down there and do our thing.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So those are my favorite West Sides.
Okay.
Right there.
Very cool.
2 good ones.
Those were good.
Nice. Very good. Great West Side Stories. I like that question. Who do you think will be the future of the sport?
Wow. There's some up and comers. I mean, and I told you about in Lebanon where I had tore my pec in 2015 there. I actually was competing against Julius Maddox.
Oh, wow.
And Julius was at the same meet. And I think Julius benched like 655 at that meet, I do believe. And the next morning, we was eating breakfast together at the hotel. And I told him, I was like, Julius, I was like, I'm going to tell you now, you are the future of this sport. You're young, you're strong, you're smart. And I told him, I was like, you're going to be a 700-pound bencher before you know it. And I mean, the guy's closing in on 800 pounds now. I mean, the guy is a beast. I talk to him occasionally. We exchange text messages back and forth, chit-chatting and stuff. But Julius is definitely, he's not the future. I mean, he's now.
Right.
5 years ago, he was the future. I got a handful of young up-and-comers. Gavin Smith. Gavin has got all the potential in the world. He's probably listening right now. Shout out to you, Gavin. Yeah, I say shout out to Gavin there. He's one of my young up-and-comers. He's done some pretty good stuff. I mean, he's young and 21, 21, somewhere in that area. So he's a good one coming up to watch out of this area. And, there's a handful of young guys at Westside. One of my high school lifters, he's 17, and he just smoked a 400-pound bench last week at Westside raw.
Wow.
And, so he's when I left, he stayed. I got the approval from George for him to keep driving down there. So that's, I mean, how many 17-year-old kids that get up at 4:30 on a Sunday morning to drive 2 hours to Westside? So that kid, he's the future, and he's a full meat guy. He's a squat, bench, and deadlifter. So I mean, there's a lot of young and up and comers out of this area that are coming up. So yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a handful of them. I don't follow the powerlifting as much as what I used to. And as far as the full stuff goes, I mean, I still kind of watch the bench stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, out of my area, those two are some up and comers.
Nice. Okay. If you had the opportunity to go back and do it all over again, would you change anything? If so, what would it be?
Absolutely not. Well, maybe the skipping Westside for the first 8 years.
There you go.
So. I mean, I kind of think back what would my potential been if I would have went to Westside that first 8 years.
Right.
Other than that, wouldn't change a thing. Absolutely love it. I had a guy at work ask me there a couple weeks back. I was out on the floor walking through doing my walkabouts and kind of hobbling a little bit, and he made the comment to me. He's like, "Do you regret any of that?" And I looked at him and I says, "Not 1 minute of it." I says, "I don't regret any of it." I said, I says, when I graduated high school and got into powerlifting, I knew that I wanted to be one of the best. And did I sacrifice my body to do it? Yeah, I did. I mean, my body's beat to hell and back. I mean, there's some days I just want to lay in bed because everything hurts, but I don't regret any of it because, I mean, I've been all over the States. I've met all the top people in the sport. I mean, I've trained under one of the best coaches in the world, have one of the best trainers in the world. I've met some of the best people in the world. Powerlifting is a great sport. I mean, we're a small niche community, but you know what? Everybody's usually, I mean, there's a couple assholes in the sport. I mean, there's a couple people. I don't have to mention any names. Ryan's smirking.
Nope. So, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So we've had our conversations.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. I mean, there's a handful of assholes that you have to deal with, and I mean, I'm a no drama kind of guy. I don't get involved in the drama side of the sport. And so, I mean, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't. So other than that 8 years.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Good answer. What advice can you offer new lifters that are just starting out?
Seek knowledge of people that know. Find somebody in your area that has been there and done it and absorb as much information as you can. The internet right now provides so much access to people like myself, like Ryan, like all the other top people. You know, and one of the things that I pride myself in, I don't charge for my coaching. I don't charge anybody to come train with me. I trained at Westside for 10 years, and Lou never charged me a dime. I mean, hell, I got more out of Lou than I ever gave Lou, other than some big numbers. I mean, Lou treats his lifters like gold. If you're one of his top guys, he's going to make sure you're taken care of. And Lou always took care of us. I mean, we always had new wrist wraps, always had new bench shirts, always had new T-shirts, always had new coats, new hoodies. I mean, everything. Lou hooked us up, and you know, I do the same for my guys. I mean, I don't charge anything. If some young guy comes to me and says, "Hey, Mike, can you help me out?" You know what? I'm going to make myself available and try and help them out. And if I can't get them the information that they need, I'm going to find somebody that can.
Nice. Perfect.
Is it my turn to ask
It
some
is,
questions?
I was gonna
Okay,
say,
Mike, I got a few questions
That was
of
the
my
last
own.
one I had.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. You had some great answers, and Ryan's got a few here for you.
Talking about eating, what are some tips you could give to our viewers that might want to put on some serious size and body weight? How many calories, protein per day, etc.? Got a few guys that are know that you've been to the 400-pound mark, and they want to gain a lot of weight. And I said, well, I'll ask Mike when he's on the show what to do, eating wise.
Well, like we were talking in the pre-show, I guess we could call it, when we were getting everything set up. You got to eat. I mean, that's, you know what? I'm a dirty bulker. I mean, that's
same here.
When I'm wanting to bulk, I'm eating calories, and I mean, and those calories aren't always probably the best as far as fat content and stuff goes. Like we was talking about earlier, when I started my cut to come down, me and Chris Mason from At Large Nutrition, he had actually had me go through and document all of my stuff. And my biggest, I was taking in about 12,000 calories a day. And for my cut, we cut that in half and cut it to 6,000 calories a day. So the biggest thing, you know what, eat. And when you're done eating, eat some more. I mean, I can't stress it enough. I got a couple guys around here that are trying to put on some weight. And when we go out to eat, I make sure they eat every little bit of it. Hunter Foltz, one of the kids, the kid that benched 400 pounds, he's trying to add some size. And we went out for breakfast, and he actually didn't eat all of the gravy in his biscuits and gravy. And I actually ordered him another biscuit so that he could use it to eat all the rest of the gravy up. So yeah, you know, eat multiple times throughout the day. I was eating anywhere from 6 to 7 times a day. Supplement. I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, you can get calories in there for calorie shakes.
Yeah.
Get your protein levels up, get the extra proteins in there. My biggest, I was doing 4 protein shakes a day. And then like I said, then a lot of food consumption in there as well.
Were those protein shakes high calorie shakes or just protein?
On my bulk up, they were high calorie. On the cut, they were low calorie.
Okay.
Yep.
Here's a kind of a cool question. When you trained at Westside, what type of benching did you do while you were there? Max effort only, speed bench, and how did the rotation of exercise work? How did the rotation of the exercises worked? You said you trained there on Sunday, so you just benched there once a week.
Yep.
And was that a mat?
Yeah, it's Sunday was our heavy day.
Okay.
And we were kind of opposite of like the AM crew and the night crew. They actually do all of their heavy bench pressing on Wednesdays, and then they do their speed work on Sundays. Because we were all coming in from out of town, George had that flip-flop to where we did all of our heavy lifting on Sunday morning, and then when we would come home to our respective benches or respective gyms, we would then do our speed work. And for about the first 2 years I was there, I did speed work pretty religiously, and then I actually started alternating my speed work with more like a bodybuilding type day, like a rep day, where I would do some dumbbell presses and stuff like that, and I wouldn't even touch the bench press on Wednesdays. I'd alternate them every other Wednesday, speed, and then every other Wednesday like a bodybuilding day. But the first couple of years I was there, I did speed every single Wednesday,
right.
And it was typically 9 to 12 sets, 3 reps, 3 seconds is kind of what we was after. 50% over 1 rep max. And then we would vary in different band tension. I mean, we would use reds, we'd use monster, or like minis or monster minis. Sometimes we would use the mid-sized bands. I mean, it all just depends.
Right.
And just making sure that you could get that bar moving the speed that it needed to be going in.
Well, on Sundays, did George dictate the benching? And like when you walked in, George had the plan for everybody?
George was the man. So George says he's just one of the training partners, but George is definitely the brains of the Sunday morning crew. He dictated everything that you did. He would find your weaknesses, and then he would help you build your weaknesses. One of mine was actually floor presses. I really sucked at floor presses, and I think I did floor presses for like 8 weeks straight one time, and it wasn't always the same. I mean, it was a variation. It was a straight weight floor press. It would be a floor press with like a mini band. It would be a floor press with chains. It would be a like floor press for triples. But I mean, I was for like 8 weeks, all I did was some type of a floor press movement, and to help build up that arm strength and go from there. But yeah, it's George dictated that. It was always a heavy bench movement, a heavy tricep movement, and then a heavy back movement. That's what we always did every Sunday. If you was to walk in there this Sunday morning, well, you were there for the Arnold weekend. They did a heavy bench workout, and then they did a tricep, and then they did back. They got that. There's a back row machine right there by the garage door that we would hammer the shit out of that thing all the time.
Wow.
But yeah, so and I mean, still today, that's what we do here. My crew, I have them do a heavy bench day, and then they'll do. I throw in an additional chest day to pump some blood, or chest movement to pump some blood in, and then they do a back movement, and then they do a tricep movement, and we're out of there.
Okay. Looking back at the years you trained at Westside, in as few words as possible, can you describe your experience while lifting there?
Wild and crazy.
Wild and crazy. Enough said. Okay, we're going to move on to some stuff.
What you see is definitely what you get.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's, good stuff.
Nice.
I got some story time questions. Any Arnold Classic stories, like the Arnold 2007? Is there some stories that you remember about? I mean, that's we shared the stage together that day. I had some backstage theatrics with Mark Henry that day. Anything else?
I was actually standing right there with Scott when all of that went down.
Scott who?
Scott Yard.
Yeah, Scott Yard. Yeah, he was the kid that ran across the area, and it was his first year at the Arnold, and Henry called him the bad word, and that's what flipped my switch.
Yeah. I was right behind him, and I heard Scott 3 times say, "Mark, can I get by? Mark, can I get by? Mark, can I please get by?" And then finally he said, "Screw it," and he pushed through. And that's when he turned around and he called him
Mother effer. I heard that. That's my mating call that day. Yeah.
And
I'm starting to sweat.
Next thing I know, we got 2 monsters nose to nose right in front of us, and I'm like, "Oh shit, this is going down."
It was gonna go down, Mike.
I thought it was going down that day, and well, it was funny because I told Scott, I was like, it's like after it all kind of simmered down, I told Scott, I said, Ryan didn't have anything really to worry about. I said, he's actually a fake fighter. I said, he would have just acted like he was punching him and stomped the ground. And I say that now because I can joke, because my son is actually a professional wressler. So
nice.
That's, he's on a circuit and goes around. He went to wrestling school. And
nice.
He actually does the Hulk Hogan type wrestling. Nice. So it's fun to go watch him
super
now.
cool.
That's awesome.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But yeah, I mean, we got that story there. That was always one. I mean, had a lot of good attention in Powerlifting USA, so we got a good laugh out of that one. And then the other one, if you actually watch my opening attempt, it was like 774, 780 something. I actually dump it, and I kind of reposition myself up underneath it when I get the press command, and I push it back up. And it was one of my first encounters ever with Bill Crawford. And I sat up on the bench, and I look over, and I see that I got it. And you see the video, I just kind of shake my head. Well, Bill Crawford actually grabs me by my arm and pulls me off to the side of the stage. And he's like, "Hey, kid," he goes, "most of these people in this crowd don't realize that you just dumped that, repositioned it, and pushed it back up. He's like, "You don't know how damn strong you are, kid." And I was like, okay, you know, I mean, coming from Bill at the time, I mean, one of the best bench pressers on the planet. I took it to heart and absolutely loved it. And I mean, still to this day, I mean, me being part of the Metal Militia now, I mean, talking with Bill, I mean, Bill actually remembered right then and there. He goes, I can tell you exactly where we were standing, exactly what I said to you. And then like I said, the story with George, where I was talking about coming out onto the stage, and George told me to go and let everybody know who I was. So those are probably my three favorite from 2007.
Okay.
Most definitely.
We're going to go here to another meet that you and I competed at, and let's talk the Senior Nationals Bench Bash for Cash 2006. I'm gonna switch over, Mike, and show a pic of the big boys real quick, and I think I got that on here. Well, I got it right here. Yeah, I got that picture up, Mike, of all four of us. Me, Brandenburg, Latimer. What are we called? The what?
Chunkendales.
The Chunkendales are here for you, ladies. Yeah. And we got our singlets down, and we are ready to perform.
On me and Brandenburg and Latimer. I mean, look at them abs.
That was a fun meet, Mike. That was.
That was a great meet. So great meet. That'll actually carry me into the story that I wanted to share with you,
Well, it's
Ryan.
giving me chills.
And
I've been waiting for this.
it was funny because
Wipe the sweat off here.
So anyways, Ryan was back in the day was the Brad Pitt of bench press.
Thank you.
Do you remember that?
I did a lot of wild and crazy things, and I was very yes, and yes.
So one day I'm sitting at the computer.
Yep.
And I'm scrolling through and I'm looking at some pictures, and the picture you pops up, and it actually said Ryan Kennelly, the Brad Pitt of bench pressing, and the Brad Pitt I think is what caught my wife's eye.
Okay.
And my wife comes over and she goes, "Holy hell, who's that guy?" And I'm like, "Well," I says, "That's Ryan Kennelly." My wife goes, "Okay." She goes, "Why haven't we ever seen him?" And I was like, "Well," I said, he's one of the top guys. I said, he's actually going to be at the meet that we're going to in Chicago here in a couple months. I said, he's going to be lifting with us. And she's like, "We get to see that guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we get to see the guy." So you were that guy for a couple weeks. And so anyways, I was reading up a couple other things, and my sister-in-law was over at the house, and my wife goes, "Hey, show Cass that guy." So I had to pull up a picture and show you, and my wife's all like, "Yeah." She goes, "We get to see this guy in a couple weeks." So anyways, carries us through to Chicago, and my wife's seen you from a distance, and she's like, "Oh, there he is," and she was all kind of giddy and excited about it, and we kind of laughed about it. I'm like, "Yeah, there's that guy." And well, off to the side, kind of where the warm-ups were in another room, but there was like an area for us like set up and change and stuff. We're sitting there, and I look over, and you're standing there in your underwear.
I probably was.
Yeah, you was in your underwear, and my wife looks over, and my wife gets this big shit-eating grin on her face because she's seen that guy in his underwear. And so anyways, we're sitting there, and I was kind of, I put on a happy face, but I was kind of bummed that I bombed out. That was supposed to be my 900-pound meet. And I was chasing that 900 mark and ended up bombing out just like about everybody else did in that meet. I did have to laugh at one of the comments on I think it was on Monster Muscle at the time. It says bombs go off at O'Hare Airport. It was like Wolfe bombs, Brandenburg bombs, Latimer bombs. So it was went through and named off all the people that bombed at that meet. I think that probably 75% of the people at that meet bombed that day.
I think so.
Jeez.
Oh, dude, it was awful. But anyways, we leave the meet, and we're driving on the loop around Chicago, and I'm kind of bumming, and it was funny because that song "I Had a Bad Day" come on the radio, and I'm sitting there and I'm kind of bobbing my head to it. Well, my wife's cell phone rings, and it's her sister, and her sister goes, "So, how did Mike do?" And she goes, "I got to see Ryan in his underwear."
I am trying to think what
it wasn't Mike had a bad day. It was first words out of her mouth was, "I got to see Ryan in his underwear." My sister-in-law goes, "Who's Ryan?"
Oh boy.
And my wife goes, "That guy."
That guy.
So I'm gonna get you a shirt printed up that says "that
Dude,
guy."
I already made it
so.
in my mind. It's already done. It's gonna be Benchmonster on the front and that guy in the back.
The Brad Pitt of bench press.
Well, I was that for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was in my underwear though. Was I just standing around? Was it in between?
You were changing out of your singlet and putting your clothes back on.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I just dropped trow, and yeah, that's what I do. All right, Mike.
That's funny.
We've all done
Yeah.
it. What was funny though was when we were driving around the loop, as bad of a day as what I had, the traffic was weaving off to the side, and I'm like, what the hell is this traffic doing? And all of a sudden, there's a big ass boat on the side of the road, and everybody was swerving to miss this boat. I mean, it was like still in the Saran wrap.
Oh wow.
And like half laying in the road, and there was no trailer or anything. So I thought to myself, I'm like, as bad of a day as what I just had. When that guy gets to wherever he's going and realizes he's missing a boat,
Yeah.
I was like, he's gonna have a worse day than me.
Right.
So,
Wow.
but yeah, that was a fun meet though. I mean, had a lot of good times that night. So, like I said, me and Latimer and Tone and my crew, we all walked into that pizza buffet in downtown Chicago and talked about getting some looks. And like I said, that pizza buffet, they lost some money that night when we all ate there.
Wow. So
It's good stuff.
I drank with Latimer that night, so it must have been at the hotel bar later on. I don't remember.
It was Friday
Oh,
night.
Friday
We
night.
went
Okay.
out the night before. Yeah, we went out the night before. We was all downtown. Went out the night before.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's all I have. Let's go over to the chat box.
Do it.
Let's see what
got
we
the
got
chat?
here. Ashley, can you read quickly?
Let's see, where did we?
Right at the top.
Mike, the big bad wolf, one of the strongest benchers on the planet. That's a bad dude right there, says T. Pressifer. Gavin Smith, love the big man. Alex Estrada, time to have fun. It has been a lot of fun.
It's been fun.
Gavin Smith, I must have been correcting one of the numbers
Correcting-
you read out, 859.8.
Hey, that's 860.
That's 860. Gee.
I always tell him it's extra chalk on the bar that day.
I like
He'll do that to me. If I say 860, he gives me 859.8.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, he totally did. Mr. Elite Entertainment. Mike has also done 700 pounds raw to one board.
Yep.
Very impressive. Where'd we go here?
Roger Brum. History in the
History in the making. Roger Brome also asks, did you do full power?
Yeah, like I said in the earlier in the interview here, it's my first two meets. I did full power.
Perfect.
16-hour meets isn't fun.
It's a long time.
Paul Nicholson.
Oh, Paul's a good dude.
The Big Bad Wolf. What's up, brother?
What's up, Paul?
Cody Plum. Hey, guys. Awesome to see Mike on the show. I just hit a 521 pounds to a half board tonight. My meet is next weekend.
Good luck,
Cody.
Nice.
Hope you kill it.
Congrats. Go get that 500, buddy.
Yeah, very cool. Let's see.
Paul Nicholson again.
Los Lobos, brother. That means
that's our Metal Militia chapter. So we started a chapter here in West Central Ohio for Metal Militia.
Nice.
And I'm the president of the Los Lobos chapter,
Nice.
the Wolves.
Nice. I like it.
Paul Nicholson also says,
Damn you, old brother. I think that came in when you were talking about your age when you went to high school
Probably
or
talking
something.
about age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent Labor Day weekend up there in upstate New York with those guys and Bill. It was a good weekend.
Cool.
Nice. Mike, who were the guys at Westside that brought the best out of you in training?
When I first got there, I trained directly with JL Holdsworth. JL, me and him, we went pound for pound on everything. JL actually should have been Westside's first 800-pound bencher, but he had a 775, and he had tried 800, I do believe, a couple times, but didn't get it. And then he suffered a lower back injury, if I remember correctly, and couldn't get in there. But the first couple months was JL, and then obviously when I got in with the crew with George, George was always there. I mean, huge moral support all the time. He was always telling me, use your arms, put it in your arms. Always hearing that out of him. And then the motivational was definitely Tony Ramos. He was always the one cracking the damn fat jokes, telling me if I missed it, I couldn't have another Twinkie. So stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, those guys, I mean, my crew there. And then, I mean, some of my guys that I coached and helped train here, they're actually now down there. Damon Dixon, he goes by D-Bone. He's always been an inspiration to me. He's actually a big inspiration. He was a 400+ pound guy he's dropped off almost 100 pounds of body weight, and he's doing really, really well. Lee Wilcoxon, he's a Masters 198er. He was always there pushing me and motivating me. And then Harold Mobley. Harold was always in my ear. He was more of the silent type that would come over and chat with you when you had your head down. He'd come over and get in your ear. He wasn't really the aggressive side, but he'd come over when he knew you were down, and he'd pick you back up and give you good spirits. So that was our crew. Drex Welch. I mean, Drex was he was one of the best handoff guys. Scott Vickery, great handoff guy. Those are the West Side guys that I trained with. Those guys right there, good dudes.
Nice. Okay.
That's the Sunday morning bench crew.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Would you do the JM weight cut to get shoulder surgery? I don't know what the JM
weight cut
is. So I don't know.
To get
I don't know if that
shoulder
means
surgery.
anything.
Maybe like the J.M. Blakely, as far as like the way that he cuts weight.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know how he got.
Yeah, that's probably
okay.
I don't have to the shoulder. I don't have to cut weight on. I have to cut weight for the knee. I have to get under 350 to have my knee replaced. So that's the only thing stopping me from the surgery. I mean, we could do it now, but my surgeon said that it would be considerably easier on him just because of my size to get down under 350, so that he can maneuver me around a little bit easier to do what he needed to do.
Okay.
I'd like to ask this question from Todd Beecraft.
Go for it.
What's his neck measure? Mike, what's your neck?
Honest to God, I've never measured it. So
somebody down here says he legitimately has no neck. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh no shit! I'm trying to look in there. Oh, guess I don't have a neck.
Okay, no neck is fine. Roger Brome.
What are your psychological strategies to come back from injury?
Well, if I could actually get through an injury without having another injury,
right?
It's. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it put me in a dark place a couple years ago. I mean, a couple years ago, I was in a pretty bad place mentally, and had to bring myself up out of it. And I had a good friend out of Pennsylvania that, he was there for me mentally, and he knew that I was in a bad spot. And me and him, we would have weekly phone calls and chats back and forth. But yeah, unfortunately, in the last 4.5 years, 5 years, every time I would get started back up, I usually end up with another injury or a strain or a sprain or something. So that's kind of a hard one to answer, because trying to get mentally ready and then you have another incident, it just tears you down that much more.
Totally.
Cody Plum has a kind of cool question here.
I just found out I'm in need of a hip replacement. If you guys were doing bench only and just started getting some traction in equipped benching, would you get the hip fixed or wait?
Well, I guess that all depends on how bad it's bothering you.
Yeah.
The shoulders, I can probably go a couple more years on the shoulders. I'm not gonna jump in on those right away. But the knee is, it's physically to the point. Going up and down stair steps, I literally go one step at a time.
Right.
I can't walk a stairwell like normal. If I have to go upstairs, the office at work, I literally go one step at a time up and one step at a time down. Definitely, it's time for the knee to be replaced. So I just got to get on the ball and drop this extra 50 pounds to get there. But yeah, I guess it all depends on what your pain threshold is.
Exactly.
And,
that's what I say.
That's going to be the biggest thing. I've pushed this knee off for well over a year now. And it's getting to the point now that it's starting to just my way of life is starting to suffer from it. Not being able to stand for excessive long time and walk long distances and stuff, and it's starting to hamper my cardio. So I really need to get it replaced. So I guess to answer the question, I mean, it all depends on your pain threshold and physically how you're doing.
Yeah, they always say, "Are you what pain level? Are you from 0 to 10?" You know, and if you're living every day with like a 2 to 3 on a pain scale, you can probably live with that. But once it gets to the point where walking and doing everything else is like, you know, amping you up to a 7, then you need to take action. That's my opinion.
That's good.
So next question, Ashley.
This person wants wrist and neck measurements also.
That's why I have a measuring tape here.
We have one.
Yeah, we have
they've
to measure.
they've made him measure.
Here, hand it to me.
Okay.
I know. I was like, we got one
There you
right
go,
here.
Mike. Mike's got a 30-inch neck. There. Cody Plum has a question for you, Mike.
Cody Plum. Mike, when you hit 826 at the Arnold, what happened on the first 2 attempts? Because you nailed that third attempt.
The first attempt was whatever it was, 7 something. I dumped that one, repositioned it, but actually got the green light on that, or the white lights, I should say. The next one, I was just out of groove, and I just, I mean, bench shirts. I mean, you got to hit that groove. If you don't hit that groove, it's not going to give you the pop that you want. And then come back and the 859.875 Gavin flew up very well.
Very nice, yeah.
So came back and smoked that. So yeah, it was just a groove thing. So you needed a little bit more weight to get the shirt to react the way that it needed to.
Hey Mike, what's one great tip to bulk up fast for strength?
One great tip to bulk up fast for strength: jack your calories through the roof. I mean, when you think you're done eating, eat some more. I'm not much of a bodybuilder guy, but I mean, if you talk to some of these bodybuilders that they go through their bulking phases, I mean, these guys eat until they're uncomfortable, and then they turn around and 2 hours later they're eating until they're uncomfortable again. You got to eat. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And depending on how you want to, I mean, it can be a clean bulk or it can be a dirty bulk. I mean, do you want to add a little bit of body fat with that? Yeah. I mean, or do you just want to add the solid muscle mass? I mean, it's all going to depend on how the bulk's going to be, either clean or dirty, depending on what your goals are.
Dirty was the best thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Dirty bulks are great. McDonald's every day.
Yeah. Oh, every.
Domino's every day.
So. It's all, all memories.
Yes. Yes.
Gavin Smith has a question here.
Gotta tell the Willie story of running into the glass. Damn it, fat man, LOL.
This is poor Willie. Willie has been drugged through the mud and back as far as health-wise goes. And myself, Gavin, a couple other guys, we actually went down to a meet down there that Willie was actually competing in. Willie's a riot. He's great. Poor guy lost a leg to diabetes. His eyesight's pretty much so gone because of diabetes. And but he still keeps going 100 miles an hour. He's dropped a bunch of weight. He always calls me the fat man. I mean, I'm always the fat man to him. And it was funny because when we got down there, we pulled up in front of Willie's house and he wasn't there. And his little hillbilly neighbor was sitting on the front porch, and I hollered out at him and asked him if he'd seen Willie. And he says, that Willie? And he kind of points over at his house. And I said, yeah. I said, that Willie. And he said he thinks he's downtown at a powerlifting meet. And I told his neighbor, I said, if you see that old man before we do, I said, you tell him the Ohio boys are in town. We're going to beat his ass and take his leg back across the river with us. So anyways, we get down to the meet, and I guess the old man must have called Willie and asked him what the heck was going on. So if you actually look at my Facebook, there's actually a picture of me. I got Willie in a headlock, and I'm holding his leg. And so it's pretty good stuff. But after the meet, we all went out to dinner. And we went to a Roosters or a Frickers. I don't remember what it was. It was a sports bar downtown there in Huntington, West Virginia. And as we're leaving, there's 2 double doors, and then there's 2 big panes of glass beside the double doors. And Willie's walking, and he kind of had his hand on my shoulder. Like I said, his eyesight ain't all that well. He kind of had his hand on my shoulder as we're walking through this place. And I open up the door to walk through, and I go to hold it for him, and all of a sudden I hear for bam. And I turned back just in time to see where Willie had walked into that pane of glass. And he staggers back and about falls over. And his exact words, he goes, "God damn fat man." He goes, "I thought that was the door." Everybody in that restaurant was just rolling laughing. Even Willie's wife at the time, she was rolling laughing. I felt so bad for him, but like I said, I mean, I've looked up to Willie for years. Great guy, he's given me a lot of advice over the years. But yeah, it's there's a funny Willie Williams story right there. Walked right into the big old pane of glass. It was good stuff. Poor guy.
Funny. Are you talking about the Dynabody standing chest press? What rep range did you normally use?
You know, I mean, depending on how heavy we went, more towards the end of my career, I was using it as more of a to get the blood pumped in there, more bodybuilding. I guess hypertrophy is the word for it, to pump the blood in there. But during my heavy days, I mean, it was 8 to 10 reps and as heavy as possible. And I mean, like I said, the one day I was talking about it, and when the handle broke on it, we had 5-6 plates on there, however much it was. And my goal was to get 6 reps that day with it. And the third rep, it broke. But yeah, that is a great machine. Love it. You can use it for direct chest. You can use it for triceps. It's got 4 handles out to the side for chest, and it's got the handles on the inside for the tricep presses. It's a great machine.
Nice.
Great machine.
Paul Nicholson has a question.
What are you doing now in powerlifting?
I am coaching.
Coaching, nice.
Yes, I actually, like I said, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, and Sundays are my coaching days. On Wednesday nights, I have a bench crew of about 4 or 5 guys. That's their max effort night. Basically what it was some of the guys from the Sunday crew that couldn't make it on Sundays anymore. So we actually started my Sunday crew, not the Westside crew. And so we started a Wednesday night crew at the gym where we train at. And so there's 4 or 5 of us in there. So I do all their coaching, all their programming. And then on Thursday nights, I do we have the Iron Will, which is the Mercer County Special Olympics powerlifting team. We started it about 13, 14 months ago. We started it, and I get so much joy out of those. We can have anywhere from 10 to 15 kids. I mean, I say kids, but I mean these guys range anywhere from 15 to 39. Yeah. I mean that's our age. Okay. And some of them are Down syndrome, some of them are autistic. Some of them are highly functioning. Some of them are not so highly functioning, but they actually enjoy it, and I get so much pleasure out of that aspect because I mean it doesn't matter if it's 50 pounds or 100 pounds. To those guys, they act like it's 1,000 pounds, and it's some of the most amazing. The athletes, I mean, we just had a new guy start tonight, and had never touched a weight a day in his life. And he laid down and he had 95 pounds on the bar and he did it for 6 reps. And I mean, to see the enjoyment on his face, I mean, he's going to bench a plate aside here probably next week.
Nice.
I mean, I'm going to take him to a max. I mean, we was doing sets of 6 tonight. So I got that going on. And then I got my Sunday morning crew. And then also we started like I said, the Metal Militia Los Lobos chapter here in Midwest Central Ohio. And so doing a lot of that with the chapter president, running powerlifting meets through the Metal Militia and with the Los Lobos crew. And we actually have a big bench meet coming up on December 5th. And then we have a push-pull meet coming up on April 4th or April 5th, whatever that Saturday is. And those are our 2 planned meets at this point in time.
Damn, Mike, You're busy, man.
Yeah, a lot going on. That's awesome.
Plus I work a 40-hour job.
Damn, son.
Jeez. Do it all. It's awesome.
It's good. It's good stuff. Keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. It's really awesome that you do that. Greetings from Norway. Hello. Thanks for tuning in.
Marcus Bruvik from Norway.
Bruvik.
And he has a question
and he also has 2 questions.
Here we go.
Got 2 questions for both Ryan and Mike. What normally goes through your head right before a big lift? And what's the worst injury you two have witnessed during both of your powerlifting careers?
You want to go first? Or you want me to?
What normally goes through my head, well, usually when my wrists are getting wrapped and Grinder by 6 Feet Under is playing, I get total tunnel vision. I block a lot of things out, and I go to the bench. I don't look at the weights on the side of the bar. I look at the middle of the bar, and it's I kind of stuttered this the other night. You know, there's a lot of I build up a lot of emotion. I hate to use the word hate, but I got to get amped up for this shit. I mean, I'm walking out to
I use hate.
I use hate. But it almost. I remember one time at the Arnold. Nobody knows this. That I got so amped up. Actually, tears started coming out. It was the weirdest thing. This was like the 2005 Arnold. I was so. It just got so high, and then all of a sudden it was like, whoa! I got the lift, but it just I get myself worked up. And I guess hate's a good word. I mean, it's borderline psychopathic what's going through my mind, because I want to win, I want to be consistent, and it's a straight tunnel vision approach to the bench, and I know it's done time and time over again in the gym. I know how to press it, and that being that. Worst injury I've seen Greg Stevens at the Mendelssohn Classic 2007. I was behind the curtain, probably 4 out, and Greg Stevens was a 242, 220 guy at the Mendelssohn Classic, and his arm snapped. And I was 4 feet away from it behind the curtain, and it sounded like a broomstick being snapped over a knee. And I peeked through and I saw his arm dangling, and that was probably, and I've heard of other horror stories, like the Westside documentary where Ed Cohn's knee goes, you see stuff like that, but in real life, that was one of the worst that I've seen. And it's one that terrifies me as a bench presser, because that's one of the worst injuries, as when the forearm snaps. And it wasn't a compound fracture by any means, but it was still horrifying. To this day, I remember the noise, and it still haunts me. So, your turn, Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start off with the worst injury. I already shared it earlier in the interview here. It was the Steve Green injury, and you nailed it when you said that it sounded like a broomstick snapping, and that's exactly what it sounded like. And like I said, his arm was bending at a 90-degree angle. Again, wasn't a compound fracture, but you could actually see the bone sticking not through the skin, but you could see the bone pushing up on the skin. Yeah. So pretty crazy injury. That was the worst. As far as myself, everybody that knows me, I'm drama free. I'm not a hateful guy. I'm a happy-go-lucky. 99% of the time you see me, I'm in a good mood. Very rarely will you ever see me in a bad mood. But as a child, I was bullied, pushed around, beat up. Like I said, I mean, all the way up to my senior year. I mean, even trying to play football. I mean, I was an oddball out, and so believe it or not, I actually bring all that back. And it was funny because I actually used to use that as my my drive to train, and I'll share this story with you while we're talking. This goes back to like the 96, 97 meet that was held here locally. And it was the first time that a lot of my family and friends had actually got to come watch me compete. I was chasing the 600-pound bench in a shirt, young kid. And, I mean, back in the day, I mean, I was a respectable bench at the state level meet. And so we come to this meet locally here at the YMCA, APF meet. And I come in, and like I said, I used a lot of that rage and hate that I had built up inside of me to focus on my training. And I can remember that there was this sign that hung up in our high school weight room. It said, "The only difference between a champ and a chump is you." And,
nice.
Everybody's like, I'm like, yeah, okay, everybody knows A and U, but I never registered in my head what that meant. So anyways, I used a lot of that pent-up energy and hatred and stuff from childhood to drive my training. And I can remember one day at the gym, there was this little old lady in there. And, I mean, she was a nice old lady. And, I mean, I tried to be nice to her. But when I was working out, you know what? Stay the fuck out of my way. It's time for me to work. And I remember her calling me a curmudgeon. And I didn't know what a curmudgeon was. Well, I went home and, this is pre-Wikipedia. And I had to get the dictionary out and look up a curmudgeon. And it was basically a mean and evil person.
Whoa.
And I can remember thinking to myself, I'm like, am I a mean and evil person? Well, this all kind of fell together about the same time that we had this meet. And like I said, using the rage, the hatred that I had been up inside of me, I went and go to this meet. And you know what? It was supposed to be my meet. I was supposed to walk in. All my family, friends are all there. I end up bombing. It was the first meet that I ever bombed at. And the guy that beat me benched like 380 or something like that. I mean, it wasn't even close. I mean, it was 200 pounds less than what I was capable of doing. And but anyways, when he walked up to the platform to get his medal, the guy had a shirt on that said, "The only difference between a champ and a chump is you." That day, it registered with me that I was a chump. And that day, I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't need this energy to train anymore. But I put that energy in the back of my head, that hatred and everything. And when I got to the level and I needed to find something to motivate me, I'm walking up to the platform. I'm wrapping up. I'm putting my belt on. I'm happy-go-lucky. I'm in the warm-up room. I'm happy-go-lucky. But when you see me flip the lever on my belt to close it, I go to a deep, dark spot, like you said, and it's full of rage. Oh, yeah. It's full of hatred. It's full of the smacks in the face and shoved into the lockers and pushed around and all of the shit that I dealt with as a kid coming up through school. It was all that stuff that's pent up, that sits back here somewhere. And when I flip that lever on that belt, I bring that to the platform. And like you said, it's almost demonic hatred. And that's what drives me when I flip that belt. And as soon as I flip that belt to take it off, I'm back to happy-go-lucky Mike. But there's that 60 seconds where my belt is flipped tight and I got every ounce of hatred that I have in my body is on that bar, and I'm pushing it up off my chest. So, and then I go back to happy-go-lucky Mike. So
I like that, Mike.
There you go, buddy.
Cool, cool.
Hope that answers your question.
Great answers.
Yeah.
Same
person.
Same person. Also wanted to say you two are huge inspirations to me, and I've been very excited for this interview with Mike. Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
Very nice, yeah. Tiny Meeker. Hi, Tiny. Got on late.
What's up, Tiny?
Love the Anthony Clark story. He was a huge idol to so many of us. A great lifter and a great guy. Enjoying the interview. Hi, Mike, Ryan, and Ashley. Hi, Tiny.
Hi, Tiny.
Here. Look at that, Tiny.
Yeah.
Damn, kind of got a cramp.
Okay. T. Pressifer wants to know if there's a.
Oh, do you have a cool Chuck Vogelpohl story?
Yeah, actually I do. Chuck is definitely one of the most intense guys I've ever met. I was scared of Chuck. Some days I still am scared of Chuck. I mean, that's just, but when I first started training there, I was talking about my first Saturdays, the first few months. About 2 months into my training, I come walking in and Chuck is sitting at the edge of the bench. And his one leg is just bouncing 100 mile an hour. And it's probably about 9:15, and we start at 9. And he doesn't say a word, didn't even acknowledge that I was there. And he's just sitting there just waiting and waiting and waiting. The music's playing. And I sit down in the chair, and I'm just kind of waiting, and nobody's coming. Lou's not there. And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, this is just me and Chuck. 9 o'clock comes up. He stands up. He looks at me. He goes, "You ready?" And I said, "Yeah." I says, "Where's everybody else at?" And he goes, "Just me and you." He goes, "There's a meet in Zanesville, Ohio today." So it was literally me and Chuck. And I mean, it was back and forth. I mean, as soon as he was done, I was going. As soon as I was done, he was going. And it was that way for an hour and a half nonstop. And that guy pushed me. And this is mid-August. It is hot as shit in that building. Hardly any airflow in there. By time we were done, I'm leaning against the wall, and I'm about beat to hell and back. He had me doing JM presses with 405, had me doing front plate raises with 100-pound plates. And, I mean, he drove my balls into the ground.
Whoa.
And about 10:30-ish, a couple other guys showed up, and they're kind of talking with Chuck. And they made their way over to the back corner to do some deadlifting and stuff over one of the racks. And Chuck hollers over at me. He goes, hey, he goes, have you squatted and deadlifted yet this week?
Huh.
And I looked at him, I says, no. I says, I haven't. And he kind of looks at me and he goes, you're going to before you leave today.
What?
And I was like, okay. So I walked back over to the front door where all my shit was at, and I grabbed my stuff and I took off out the door. And so get in the car, got out of Dodge before I had to squat and deadlift. And I walked back in the next Saturday, and Chuck's sitting there and he's smiling. And he goes, I didn't think you'd be back. And I told him, I was like, you kicked my ass. I said, but you didn't break me. And so that is a great Chuck story, man. He drove me into the ground. It was, definitely crazy. The only time I ever trained with the guy. I've talked to him numerous times, right. But that's the only time I've ever actually trained with him was that day.
Nice.
I mean, alone, I should say. I mean, we did train together that first few months, I mean, with everybody else. But training alone that one time, it's a pretty crazy one.
That's cool.
Mr. Elite Entertainment.
Mike, I remember reading that you benched 315 for 60 plus reps and 225 for almost 90 reps. From what I remember, what was the most reps that you hit with 405?
The 315 was actually for 53 reps.
Damn.
And 225 was for 82. And then 405 I've done for 22, and then 500 I've done for 10. 605 for a triple. That's the most I've done as far as plates.
Wow. Jeez. Hi, Mike. Can you please share your favorite Louis Simmons story?
It's well, I mean, I kind of shared the story about first meeting him and him inviting me, but one of them that I'll share, and I don't know, Ryan, I don't know if we talked about this the other day on the phone or not, but it was the second or the third week. This goes back to 2004, second or third week that I was at Westside Barbell, and Lou was telling me that I didn't know how to bench press. He's all like, you got to learn how to use your arms. Got to use your arms. And I was trying everything he was telling me to do, and some reason I just wasn't kind of correlating what he wanted. So anyways, I could see that he was a little irritated, and he's standing there and he's trying to show me how to use my arms. And he's like, I'm going to show you how to use your arms. And he just hauls off and he shoves me. And he's like, shove me back. And I'm like, I'm not going to shove you. And you got all these guys. I mean, you got Chuck and you got Amy and you got JM. I mean, you got all these guys standing there. And he's like, no, he's like, shove me back. And I'm like, I'm not going to shove you. And he shoves me again. Ultimately, he ended up shoving me about 5 or 6 times. And he shoves me back into the corner. And literally, I mean, I'm in the corner and he shoves me, hard back in the corner. And by this time, I'm starting to get pissed. And he's like, shove me back. So finally, I just come up out of that corner and I hook both my arms up underneath him. And I just launch him back about 10 foot. And he stops and he looks at me and he goes, that's how you use your fucking arm. And so I'm like, okay. I mean, it was like some straight up Mr. Miyagi.
Totally. I was thinking Karate Kid.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, awesome. That's a good Lou story right there.
That is really good. I like that. That's funny. Tell us about rep PRs and training.
And he's greetings from Sweden probably.
Nice.
Rep PRs and training. In training, maybe? Rep PRs?
Which we kind of went through those.
Yeah.
That was probably asked before we did that.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Okay.
But if you have anything else you want to add, any other...
Yeah, it's like I said, those are the raw numbers. I mean, it is shirted. We didn't do a whole lot of rep stuff in the shirts.
Right. Okay. We'll go to the next one here.
Mr. Elite Entertainment.
Mike, I remember seeing a picture of you slapping somebody. Looked like it was in the gym. What was that picture about?
That was actually in Exile Barbell, and I have a guy. His name is Kamil Morawski. He actually lives in New York City now. He is Polish. He's actually dual citizenship from Poland and the United States. He's a boxer. He loves to box, loves to get slapped around, beat up. And he is one of them guys that just loves to be smacked in the face before he lifts. And it was actually a double smack. There's actually video of it. I'll have to tag you guys in it because it's hilarious. Because he was going, it was like a 400-pound deadlift or something. I mean, it wasn't anything like outrageous, but he wanted to get fired up for it. And he hits a smelling salt. And he comes over and he's got his jaw out there to me. And I come across with the right and come back across with the left, just slap the living shit out of him. And he drops down and goes to pull it. And he gets it probably about 90% of the way up and he ends up losing his grip. Well, in the video, you see me, his eyes kind of roll, and I grabbed him to make sure that he didn't fall. And when the video cuts off, he says he's okay, and I let go of him. And he actually collapses and lays there on the platform. He ended up blacking out from all of the blood flow to the head. Oh. But yeah, that's what the slap's for. There's a handful of people that like to get the hands of motivation, as I like to call them. I tell them I got handfuls of motivation if they want a good smack. I myself, I hate to get smacked. If you look at the cover where I made PLUSA, that was actually a come from behind win at that meet. I had missed my first 2 attempts and come back and got my 3rd attempt, but I actually walked through a gauntlet of Westside guys, every one of them smacking me, punching me. The very last guy slapped me in the back of the head, and I was so pissed off. I hate that. And so there was some rage on that picture coming up off of there. And so yeah, that's yeah.
Okay.
Alex Estrada has a question.
Hey guys, did either of you compete against Josh Bryant?
I have never competed against Josh Bryant.
I think I shared the stage with him in May 2003, if I remember correctly, at a bench meet, APF bench meet in Spokane, Washington. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Danny Rodriguez.
I never have.
Says Vegas was sweet.
What's up, D-Rod? What'd he say?
Vegas was sweet.
Vegas was sweet. So me and Danny spent a little bit too much money in a strip club in about an hour or so.
That'll happen.
Oops.
And it wasn't even a good strip club. I'll just leave it at that.
Uh-oh.
We left. We wasn't in there very, very long. So yeah, Danny was my right-hand man in Vegas. We had a good time in Vegas.
Nice. The blue collar badass.
Yep.
Okay. Mighty Shade. No, but the same one. Mike did 225 for 90 reps. Is that the world record?
It's a lot.
That's a lot of reps.
I don't know if there's actually a world record for that or not. So it was like 88, I do believe. It wasn't quite 90.
It's impressive.
But yeah, I don't know if there's a world record or not.
Alex Estrada says, Mike Wolfe, no neck the barbarian. Thank you, Tiny, for the compliment. Paul Nicholson.
Worst injury I ever witnessed was Julie Scanlon's arm break at the Arnold. Then she came out and pulled the deadlift.
I was there for that. I saw that deadlift.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Mr. Elite Entertainment.
Mike, what got you into competitive eating and also MMA? I remember reading your Critical Bench interview where you mentioned you would have liked to meet Hugh Hefner.
The competitive eating actually kind of it come about by accident, I guess you could say. There's a sports bar that just a couple blocks south of here where I live at. Well, used to be. It's actually they built a new facility out on the east side of town. But we would go up there for the UFC fights. And Kerry, the guy who owns the place, he had started this new burger challenge called the MVP. And like I said, it's a 4-pound hamburger, a pound of French fries, and a pound of coleslaw. And nobody had ate it. You had 45 minutes to eat it. And if you ate it in under 45 minutes, it was for free. You got a T-shirt and you got your name on the board. Well, we went up there and a buddy of mine, he's all like, hey, he's like, look at this challenge this guy's doing. And so I walk over and, you know, I'd been watching the Man versus Food thing and watching Kobayashi and all them guys eat the hot dogs and stuff. You know, but it was nothing that I had done some hot food stuff, but I mean, nothing mass amounts. And so I walk over and I look at this and I was like, you going to finish it? And the guy's all like, oh, there ain't no way anybody could ever do this. I'm like, dude, that's a walk in the park. And he's like, well, put your money where your mouth is. And I'm like, dude, I have no doubt in my mind I could eat that. And I went through and I told him, well, he had 3 big beers in front of him. I said, the first screw up, I said, you're doing is you got this big beer in front of you. I said, that's called the carbonation. I said, taking up space in your belly. So He kept telling me over and over, he's like, put your money where your mouth is. So I went back over to the table, and I'd actually ate supper before we went up there. And I'd ordered like 10 wings for the show. And so anyways, this guy comes over and starts popping off. He's about half lit and starts running his mouth to me. And finally, I looked at my waitress and said, you know what? I said, cancel my wings. I said, bring me that damn burger challenge. I said, I'm going to show this guy how it's done. And she's like, seriously? And I was like, yeah. I says, I'm going to take this thing down. So anyway, they did it, and they brought it out to me, and I requested a bigger spoon, and I wanted some water and everything, and all of the stuff that I had seen on the eating challenges. And so they gave me 45 minutes, and I did it in 19 minutes and 2 seconds. And I was the first person to do it. Well, it was funny because the guy come back, and he seen that I only had a little bit left. And literally, it was like a couple bites of my burger left. And he looks at me and goes, is that all you got left? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, well, how much time? And at that point, it was like 16 minutes or something like that had elapsed. And the waitress told him it was like 16 minutes or something. And this guy called me a big mother effer and took off walking out the door. He was pissed. So anyways, I ended up finishing it in 19 minutes and 2 seconds. And that record actually still stands. Nobody's broke that yet.
Wow.
I actually come back and did it a second time for a charity event. They brought me and a couple of the other guys in that had done it. And I was going to try and break my record, but the guy sitting across from me, he was pretty set on trying to break my record. So I was pacing him and pushing him. And he was actually on par to break it. And then he got right there at about 18 minutes, and he only had a couple bites left. And he hit a wall and couldn't do it. And he finished it, but he finished it was like 20 minutes and 5 seconds or something like that. But and I finished the second time. I finished it in like 21 minutes. So my picture's still on the wall out there. And so that was my first introduction to it. And then, like I said, I've done a couple other ones. I've done there was a 6-pound burrito challenge. It was a 6-pound burrito. I mean, it was huge. I mean, it was like this and about this big around. Oh, and it was full of beef, chicken, and pork. And then you had a half a pound of rice and a half a pound of beans to go with it. So ate that. And that one was so bad, I actually walked outside and stuck my finger in my throat and tried to make myself puke. But couldn't get the stomach to collapse in on itself to get me to puke. So that was not good. That was a very uncomfortable night. And then, like I said, I mean, there's various other little ones. Did one down in Columbus, the Hoggy Challenge. That was like 7.5 pounds of barbecue. Did that one. So various ones around the state I've done.
Nice.
That's impressive.
That's cool.
I'm retired from those now. So.
Gotcha. That's cool though. Mike, what is the most amount of weight you have ever floor pressed and incline pressed?
I have done as far as incline, I've actually done 585 on the incline. Yeah, nothing too crazy. I think there's actually video of that floating around out there. And the floor press, the most that I've had on there, I had 550 on the bar, and then it was like another 100 pounds in chain. And that's the most that I've done on the floor press. Okay. And I actually tore my tricep way back in the day on the floor press and didn't realize it until I dieted way down. And I felt a little twinge in there. And then when I actually dieted way down after I walked away from the sport for that time frame, actually you could see the cut in the tricep, but it was an injury I never knew I had.
Same question here for me. Read it.
Ryan, for the 2021 IPA bench meet, will you be wearing one of those band shirts, slingshot type shirts, or a traditional bench shirt?
Slingshot type shirt. You know, I always try to wear the next greatest thing that comes out on the market. When I started out, I was wearing an Inzer Blast shirt for $42. Got a double poly. Got a denim. Got a Rage X. Then Richlack. I had to get a Phenom. And then now these band shirts. You know, I mean, it's just the next progression of powerlifting apparel that's out there. And they're fun to lift in, so.
And they're easy to put on.
Very easy to put on, yeah.
What was training like when you weren't at Westside? Did you have people to train with, or did you have to train alone?
Well, from day one, like I said, with meeting Randy, I mean, Randy and me, we train together every day, basically. I mean, we didn't just train bench. We trained back, we trained shoulders. I mean, we trained together 3 or 4 days a week, up until the time, like I said, when I did go to Westside. And then when I trained at Westside, we had a Saturday bench crew, which Randy was still part of. And that just kind of, he would come occasionally and train with me through the week. But I've always had training partners per se, but I've gone through a lot of training partners as far as like the accessory type work. The bench crew, I mean, we've always had a bench crew. And at first it was just me and Randy, and then obviously it grew from there. At one point, I mean, we were probably 25 deep. I mean, we were running 3 or 4 benches at one time on the crew at one point in time, the Saturday morning crew. When I owned my own gym, I mean, I had people coming in from, I mean, they would come in from up around Michigan, they'd come in from Indiana, they'd come up from the Columbus area. We had a hell of a crew. I mean, the Exile Barbell crew was a hell of a crew that we had set up. And a handful of those guys, they came from Exile and they made their way on. They got good enough to get into Westside, and got those guys down there training. They still train there to this day. But so yeah, I've always kind of had that. Right now, I'm pretty much just a loner, train by myself. Don't do anything too super heavy. Don't ever go over 225 on the bench anymore. And like I said, I mean, it's more going through the motions now and emphasizing more on the coaching side for me.
That's one good thing about us, Mike. You know, we have all these years of experience, and to pass it down to up-and-coming lifters, it's kind of a thrill to see them. You know, because when I first started out, I didn't have anybody helping me. You know, I had to read from bodybuilding magazines how to train, and then, but now it's 20 years of experience now to pass it down to these younger guys. It's kind of a cool thing to see them excel too with the knowledge that we've accrued them.
Oh yeah.
Well, hell, Mike, that was the last question. Boom, bada bing.
Oh, that person took away. There was a question.
There was a weird question there. Do you know somebody by the name?
I still want to ask. Do you know?
Chris Skaropka. You know that name?
Yep.
Well, he had a question there, and he retracted it.
He retracted it, but it was
something about
tell this
sex toy
range story. Does that
I didn't want to ask it if you didn't know him. If you don't know him, you don't ask it.
You don't have to tell it because he retracted it.
Yeah, it's. Gosh, I mean, that could actually be a couple stories. I'm trying to remember what story I might have shared with him. I could tell you the good one was, believe it or not, God, this has probably been 7-8 years ago. Started having some shoulder pain in this joint here, and I could never get in with my thumb to rub it out the way that it needed to. And I'd actually seen I don't remember where I seen it at, but it was a bodybuilder. It might have been off of a website somewhere. He was talking about using a pinpoint vibrator, but I mean, it wasn't technically a sex toy, but I mean, he actually just messaged me. He says, "Damn, man, I wanted you to talk about the sex toy range." So, but anyways, like I said, took it, and I went to the adult bookstore and I bought basically a woman's pinpoint vibrator, and would take that and rub some Tiger Balm in on the shoulder and get that puppy in there, and
it worked probably, right?
It worked amazing. I mean, that's right there, Mike Wolfe's sex toy tip right there. So you can take that one and run with it how you want. Just make sure that if you're using Tiger Balm on it, you keep it in your drawer, not your wife's drawer.
That's a good idea.
Great advice. Yeah. That's funny. I'm glad we asked.
Not sure if that's what Chris meant or not. So, but yeah.
I'm glad we asked that. That was.
Cody Plum, last question.
I hate to bring this up, Mike. I'm so glad you are feeling better. I know you went through a dark time a couple years ago. I really look up to you, and I prayed for you.
Well, I greatly appreciate that, buddy. It's, May 21st, 2018. That was a rough day. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for this.
Thank you for your prayers, buddy.
Okay.
Well, Mike Wolfe, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for we went past the allotted time. I didn't want to keep you up too late.
I
know
know.
in
I'm
Columbus,
sorry
Ohio,
we kept you for.
It's no, it's all good. I'm enjoying this.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to sleep at all tonight because I'm excited about this. So it's good stuff.
Are there any other stories or things you'd like to share that you didn't get asked?
Anything you want to talk
if there's
about, Mike?
anything else
We got
you
free
wanna
time now.
add, this is your show. We didn't want to.
Not really off the top of my head. I mean, it just I appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course.
I know Gavin. I mean, he was super excited. He was blowing up my phone. Danny was blowing up my phone. So I mean, I know those guys were super excited. Those guys watch you all the
appreciate
time.
that.
Cool. Gavin, like I said, amazing kid. He's always on the internet looking up. And what I love about Gavin and Hunter, those guys, they're young, but they know the history of the sport. And that's one of the things that, we've crossed over. Powerlifting's changed in the last 5 years. I mean, we've had the crossover of a lot of the CrossFit folks. And a lot of them folks don't know the history. Go look up the history of the sport. Look at some of the old guys. Look at the golden era of powerlifting. Look into the 90s. Look into the early 2000s. There are some amazing, amazing lifters that have come up. I mean, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. I mean, it is so full of so much knowledge. You said, what kind of advice to give to the young guys? Go do that. Go look up the history of the sport. See the evolution. See where we come from. Ryan, you were talking about the Enzer Blast shirt. I mean, that might as well just be an Under Armour shirt.
That's what
nowadays.
it was. What it was too.
So I mean, it's about the extent of the support you got out of it. But yeah, dig that stuff up. I mean, like I said, dig the knowledge, have fun with it. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I don't have any regrets, but I mean, those years that I was a grumpy bastard and a curmudgeon, I mean, those are years that I won't get back. I mean, if I would have had a more positive attitude, I mean, who knows where I could have went further or better. I mean, if I would have had a more positive attitude. Just remember, the only difference between a champ and a chump is you.
I like
That's
that.
cool. I like that. That's a really cool quote. It's very cool. Great words. Study the history of the sport. I preach that all the time. That's Todd B. Craft. Nice.
Yep.
Cool. Cool.
Well, thank you, Mike. I don't want to keep you any longer. I mean,
That's a couple hours later than where you're at.
He's 3 hours ahead of us,
It's 3 hours.
It's 12:15 in the morning in
I
Columbus.
It's 12:13.
I thought it was 2.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Hey, we appreciate your time, brother. We really do.
Yeah, this was fun. This was really fun. Thank you.
Yep.
And
so you guys can holler at me. We'll do round two.
I was just going to invite you
Absolutely.
back for round 2. We'll do it again.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, most definitely.
That'd be
So
very fun.
be amazing. I appreciate you guys having me on.
You're welcome,
Yeah, we
Mike.
appreciate your time.
We appreciate your time. Thank you
Sorry
very much.
it's so late where you're at. So much later.
Yeah. Get your butts back to Ohio soon.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll be there in March for sure. If not.
Okay, March. I'll tell you what. I mean, you guys going to be here for a whole week?
We were there
We
5.
might try to make it happen. I mean.
We were in the
How long were we there?
We were there 5 days.
Yeah.
Last time. Yeah.
So yeah.
All right,
Try to make a bit of a
like I
trip
said,
of
let's
it.
definitely make a time where we all get together this
Definitely,
time.
Mike.
Totally. We would love to.
All right, Mike. Good night.
Well, thank you so much.
Yep.
We really appreciate it.
See you guys. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Later.
See you later.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, everybody. And
That was very
on that
fun.
note, I'm hungry,
I'm hungry too.
and we need to eat. I'm thinking Taco Bell.
No.
I want junk food. I'm craving some bad food. So yeah. So we'll see what we can do. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you so much for joining us.
And
As usual, we appreciate it.
Come back and we'll do it again.
Yep. See you next week.